BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Ambers. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Gene's a big timer, a social misfit. Clueless to the title of the biggest fuskeg hits. Chuck Munchie's goons have the last say. So thanks for your time, Mr. Mayo. Danger likes his cold ones and he likes his bears. But this is Rochester, cute Francesa.
Oh, who cares?
He's critical of Sean, he's critical of Al. And of course he married Sandy, cause she's Italian. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Let it never be said that I'm not a good friend, Gene. The best of friends.
You had to explain this to me, and I had to think this through just a little bit, because when you told me this, I'm like, really? Really? But then I realized, no, you suck at betting baseball.
I'm terrible at betting baseball.
You are terrible.
Every summer, I get excited. You know, we've had legalized sports wagering in New York State for a few years now, and I'm now starting to see what my pattern is. My pattern has been consistent from the very jump. I do all right with the NFL. I do all right with the NHL. I do so-so with college football. I get my teeth kicked in with the NBA and with Major League Baseball.
The NBA you should be better at. The
I
NBA,
really should.
There are okay, this team is on a back-to-back.
There's player props, and I just always get my teeth kicked in with the NBA. Baseball is by far, though, every year I hit a wall in the middle of the summer where I'm like, that's it. I got to walk away. Baseball is kicking my teeth in.
Baseball should be for recreation, just having a little fun. And what would baseball writers say, Danger? That's why they play 162 of these, because it is so random. And when the White Sox beat the Yankees to open a series, like if that's another sport, it's like, oh my gosh, no, it's baseball. It could happen as bad as the White Sox were.
Right.
Fantastic day. You could say this is the best day of baseball we've had all year.
I mean, we've got a lot at stake. But because I am a friend, I bet the Phillies to beat the Mets in Game 4.
Is that because you really think the Phillies are going to win? You want to cash in, so that's a double.
I can't lose. If the Phillies win, I get some money. If the Phillies lose, my friend is happy.
I think, like how you said with Masterstroke, how he doesn't come on the show anymore because if he's going to pick games right, the bid is over. Mm-hmm. Like if the Mets start winning, that's not good for the show.
No. No, it really isn't. I mean, we need them. We need a spectacular crash and burn for it to be good for the show. But good for the show isn't necessarily good for your mental health. And I want you to be happy. And you're enjoying Mets baseball. This was found money, really. I mean, like, we can go back how the season started to where we are now. Nobody saw the Mets doing what they've done.
When the Mets were down and out in fourth place in the division, behind Washington, I might add. They brought out, an advertiser to throw out a first pitch, and that was a low point. Like, really? This is where we're at with this bad pitching? We're going to have Grimace throw out the first pitch, and then a couple games won, and this is the Met fan base. Like, you know what? We're going to lean into this. We're leaning into this.
Weird. And this is why I think Mets fans are just a breed of their own. I'll call you that. That's a polite way of me saying what I've normally said. I can't even say it anymore. That's what it's done. It's made it so that I can't tease you. I can't tease Met fans because it's been this ride that nobody expected. But it's so weird to me that it all started with Grimace throwing out the first pitch. And here we are today with their chance to advance to the NLCS later on. It's so much fun. It's high drama. I love it.
I didn't think you'd be getting this pitching from Sean Manaea and from Jose Quintana going today. Manaea was fantastic yesterday.
Great.
Today it's Okay, whose bullpen is going to be worse? Well, that was who's going to lose this game. We're going to talk baseball today. We're going to talk the NFL, the Bills. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, talking baseball, we bring in our favorite Jim Riley from the Barreled Up podcast, the Odyssey exclusive. You can hear it in the free-to-download Odyssey app. Jim also Ballcap Sports on YouTube. By the way, we're on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is The Fan Rochester. If you didn't know, you can watch the show. You can like and subscribe while you're there. We're also streaming on Twitch. Jim Riley does a great job covering Major League Baseball, his podcast, the Barreled Up podcast, and he'll be stopping by at 4:25 to talk more about these series.
Yeah, like tonight we get Yankees-Royals. Ooh, boy, in Kansas City. Game 3, series tied at 1 each, and like the world needs more Kansas City playoff successes here. I think you barring anybody that's a Red Sox fan, you should be cheering for the Yankees tonight. Also, late tonight, are we going to see the Padres do this to the Dodgers again? Like the Dodgers with that top-heavy lineup. I just look at this team and wonder, okay, yeah, you won in the 2020 COVID year. You won with Rob Manfred handing out the COVID year trophy.
2020.
They should have more than this at this point, right?
They're designed to win championships. You're right. They're very top-heavy. The addition of Shohei, it's like, okay, but like honestly, what are we doing? You should be winning titles, consecutive titles. It shouldn't be enough to just make the postseason. I like the this is the all-timer right here. You remember this?
Is going to be remembered.
Getting booed at the COVID series. Not knowing how to react to a stadium full of people booing. And then the one kiss ass in the back.
2020 is going to be remembered as a baseball season like no other. Our clubs, and especially our players, were presented with an array of unique challenges.
Yeah, he got hit in the face with a chorus of boos. Didn't know how to react to it.
Well, they don't like me.
No.
Mr.
What?
Burns. Smithers and
yeah,
clip.
Smithers was in the background there clapping for
The
him.
point being, that's the last time the Dodgers won a World Series. So you would have thought by now, and now for the second time in 3 years, they're in danger of getting knocked out by the Padres. Are the Padres actually the best team in baseball right now? Some would say yes. We'll see what Jim Riley says. That's coming up at 4:25.
Joining us later on this hour, give us like 15, 20 minutes here. We'll get to PJ Glasser. He is the host of Send It In on the BetQL Network and the Odyssey app. Insider calls presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. He is our Odyssey Sports Betting Insider, PJ Glasser, with some thoughts on college football this weekend and pro football as well. We'll get his best bets.
Yeah, USC Penn State this week. We get that. And, yes, PJ's going to pick the Bills and Jets. A lot of questions surrounding both of those teams today. Glad that Aaron Rodgers cleared everything up, though.
Didn't he?
Yeah.
Didn't he just clear it up? I mean, when you hear him on McAfee, it's like, if you listen to the sports bar, you know the sound that's going off in my head. Everything that he's saying is a giant lie. Just one after the other.
The defamatory remarks. They're not defamatory if we say it's our opinion, Aaron, that you're kind of a jerk. That's not defamatory. But.
Yeah. The news out of Orchard Park today, surprisingly grim when you talk about the injuries. This is Sean McDermott giving the update on his team's injury report.
So Taylor Rapp has cleared concussion protocol. Ed Oliver will not practice today. Shakir will not practice. James Cook will not practice. Curtis Samuel will not practice. All three of those will take it one day at a time here, and then Taron Johnson and Austin Johnson both will be limited today, and then Darrington Evans will return to practice in the IR category. Yes, yeah. So we'll see where it goes. We'll know a little bit more coming off of today and into tomorrow.
What is the injury on James?
James is a foot-toe injury. I believe around the same thing, ironically enough. So, yeah.
So you're dealing with a foot and a toe with both Curtis Samuel and James Cook. And Samuel, you remember in the preseason, was dealing with a case of turf toe.
Okay. if he was dealing with this in the preseason, did it flare up? I mean, or is this just kind of a little bit of cover that this isn't working out? Let's get a little bit of a reset here for Curtis Samuel, and maybe we'll just kind of give you a couple days off of practice. I don't know what the answer is to that. The James Cook thing is kind of concerning because, okay, nobody knew he was hurt. Maybe he played through it. I would have hoped we would have saw more out of Ray Davis at this point. Like you see some other running backs in the league that are stepping up as the number 2, the last guy being Tank Bigsby down in Jacksonville. And it's not to say that Ray Davis can't be that guy, but how confident are you in the backfield? Because that was plan B with this Bills offense. All right, the passing game isn't working because Sauce Gardner and the defense doing their job and the pass rushers doing their job. But you can run against this Jets defense. Well, can you run if it's going to be Ray Davis and
Ty Johnson?
Dare I say Frank Gore promoted from the practice squad?
We'll monitor this, obviously, through the course of the week, and maybe James Cook doesn't miss any time. It is alarming that he's not on the practice field to start the week, and you're getting a little bit healthier on the defense, again, with Taron Johnson limited. I imagine that that's ramping up to him being available come Monday night. On Samuel, look, I was skeptical of that signing the moment it happened. We hadn't really seen him do anything with his time in Washington, and I thought it was fair to wonder whether or not that player was what he once was when in Carolina. We haven't seen it yet. So I feel as if with Curtis Samuel that this is going to go down as a really, really poor signing by Brandon Beane.
Yeah, we can say, all right, Keon Coleman, is he where you want him to be? Comparing him to Xavier Worthy, that's to be tabled. I mean, you just have to look at Coleman. All right, he has got a couple touchdowns, made a few mistakes. Kind of would expect in a rookie. If you're spending $24 million here on a wide receiver, you at least want him to create a little bit of separation. And this was the narrative. And this is what I bought into. And maybe I'm guilty of selling this a little bit too, because I didn't watch every Commanders game. Who does? But you look at the quarterbacks and like, wow, come on. Who was throwing him the ball in Washington? Right. Taylor Heineke. Look at all these guys that they were using. They didn't have a quarterback. Of course, his stats weren't as good as in Carolina. Well,
I saw a real interesting breakdown by Warren Sharp, smart guy. If you follow the NFL, you probably have seen some of his videos. He's an analytics guy. But he broke down what he sees as a problem with this Bills offense. And it's kind of what we saw, the differences of what we've seen from the first 3 weeks offensively versus the second 2 weeks, or the last 2 weeks offensively. And it's the insistence of Josh Allen to throw the ball, and maybe to an extent Joe Brady and calling what he's calling, but the Bills aren't playing to their strength, meaning Allen throwing the ball outside the numbers has become more prevalent here in the last 2 weeks. And he doesn't have players who fit that skill set. He no longer has Steph Diggs or Gabe Davis, guys that he relied on outside the numbers to make those plays. You don't have that in Curtis Samuel. You don't have that in MVS. Keon Coleman maybe becomes that when he's not getting plunked in the head because he's not turning around looking for that pass. So there's an issue there, and the offense is far more efficient when they're completing passes in the middle of the field, between the numbers. More efficient, more completions, more yardage. It speaks to the importance of Khalil Shakir. You need him back, and you need him back quickly. It speaks to the importance of guys like Dalton Kincaid, and I think Curtis Samuel can be one of those guys, but they aren't getting that separation. And it's maddening, and we'll have to monitor this and see if they continue down this path here against the Jets. Are you going to continue to play to your offense's weaknesses by throwing outside the numbers, or are you going to decide that the stuff in the middle of the field is actually what's going to get you to where you're going? It's not sexy. It's taking what the defense gives you, right? I mean, we've talked about that before. We saw it through 3 weeks with Josh Allen. It felt like they were moving the ball with great efficiency. We were all ready to claim Joe Brady the next hot head coaching candidate. We haven't seen it the last 2 weeks, and I'm wondering how much of that is Josh Allen forcing the issue to the outside of the numbers, thinking, I can make this throw. I've made it before. No, not realizing you don't have the talent at wide receiver to make the catches that you saw early in his career.
Okay, well, couple of things. One, where Sharp is saying last 2 weeks. What's true of the last 2 weeks? You're without your top receiver. Yes, Shakir was there in Baltimore. He also got clocked by Kyle Hamilton, and that's where the ankle injuries, he suffered. And give him credit for gutting out the rest of that game, but who knows how much it flared up after the game. So that's why we haven't seen him. So when you get Shakir back, whenever that is, that'll help to alleviate that. Two, find someone, Danger. Find someone. Okay, what is the most difficult throw in the NFL for a quarterback? Well, it's the long bomb. No, it's not. It's throwing the out pattern because you have to have the arm strength and the timing to deliver it. It was such a weapon when the Bills had Diggs and the Bills had Gabe Davis. And, yes, you saw a little bit with Shakir. And, yes, even in the Baltimore game, I kind of recall, they were throwing they were more back shoulder stuff. But the square out, that was automatic for Josh Allen. So the idea that, well, you're going to have to recalibrate. I'll listen to that right now they don't have a receiver that can kind of create that little bit of separation that's needed because, heck, how do you defend that if you're on a corner? You've got the sideline. It's a brilliant play, and the Bills used it very effectively. It just kind of goes to the argument, Danger. Go and trade for a wide receiver. We're not the show here, I don't think, that's saying, hey, everything's going to be okay at wide receiver. Hey, Keon Coleman's going to develop. Who knows about the guys they bring up from the practice squad? Shavers, maybe. No, you can get guys that can do this.
I think losing Shakir is the big piece of it, right? Like, I think if you don't have a healthy Shakir, if Shakir isn't able to do what he did through 3 weeks, long-term this season, it's going to be a struggle, and that's a fear. In that regard, yes, go get somebody. Go get anybody who can provide that for you. But you're talking about now the middle of the season and somebody who needs to learn an offense and develop the chemistry with Josh Allen.
Great. You have all this time. Like, can everybody recalibrate? You're not going to be the number 1 seed. But you can win the division and get a home playoff game. Like, that should be the measure here. If you go get the receiver now and you have 8 weeks, you can't develop that chemistry over 8 weeks? I think you could.
Well, there's another piece to this, and I'm going to bring this up later when we share some additional takes, because you could look at NFL teams, and I think the Bills aren't immune to this, and say, wow, they are really arrogant in believing that they can do what they think they're going to be able to do with a lack of talent, right? Like, it's arrogant of the New England Patriots to say through 5 weeks that Jacoby Brissett gives you the best chance to win, right? Like,
or Drake May.
Well, now it's Drake May gives us the best chance to win, right? Like, okay, so all of a sudden he does, but before he does, we know we don't have the talent, or we believe that even though we don't have the talent, it'll be good enough. We can coach them up. We can get them to a place. And I think there's some of that lives within a lot of NFL teams, and the Bills are one of those teams when you look at what they did at wide receiver here. Well, we don't need Stephon Diggs. Look who do we have. We're going to be fun. We have Curtis Samuel, MVS, and well, there is a team in the NFL that continues to do this, and there's a differentiator. It's not that big of a differentiator, but it is a differentiator, and
okay,
I'll explain
so
that later.
That's a riddle. What team continues just to be arrogant and double down? That's the riddle here?
It's a team that it does. You look at their roster, and you could say the people that would call this team a super team while looking at this roster, you'd call them crazy. You'd call them delusional because they're not a super team. They don't have exceptional talent at the skill position, yet they continue to win football games. And I'm not going to.
No.
I can spoil it if you want. I mean,
no. Like, it's a riddle that which team wins football games, but I know you love Pittsburgh.
It's not Pittsburgh.
It's not Pittsburgh. Okay.
No, Pittsburgh's losing games now. Pittsburgh is this version of the Steelers, this Steelers team. If you're a Steelers fan, tell me I'm wrong. They're the same. They're the same Steelers team they've always been. They're going to be good on defense, and their offense is just going to be ugh. They're going to play to the level of their competition.
And they should go over to Russell Wilson.
It's the same thing every year with the Steelers. It's the same. And I think if you're a Steeler fan, you kind of recognize this season looks like last season, except you have 2 quarterbacks instead of 1. You don't have your guy. You haven't had your guy since Ben.
Back to the Bills. If about all these injuries again, Shakir, Oliver, James Cook, Curtis Samuel, all not practicing today. You do get the extra day. Mm-hmm. So let's kind of. Normally, you're not looking at this until Friday, but you can even table this till Saturday. In fact, they won't be ruling anybody out until Saturday. So there is a little bit of hope. I think it's positive. Certainly, the Taylor Rapp clearing concussion protocol. Okay, he's back. Can we expect Taron Johnson back this week if he was quote unquote limited today? I'm hoping that he's back. That's a big, big help.
All right, before we get to PJ, quickly, Gino, because it is Wednesday. Normally we play McDermott McLies on a Wednesday. And I'm gonna throw a little curveball. We also have a few minutes of Aaron Rodgers on Robert Saleh. Which one would you rather have? Sean McDermott for a few seconds on Aaron Rodgers, or Aaron Rodgers for a couple minutes on Robert Saleh?
I need to know, okay, is this Aaron Rodgers talking to the actual New York media, or is this Aaron Rodgers paid?
This is for McAfee.
Okay, the paid appearance on McAfee. Sidebar, what does A.J. Hawk do? He just kind of sits there. How many? 2 minutes?
3 minutes on Robert Saleh from Aaron Rodgers.
Holy mackerel. 3 minutes. 18. I'm going crazy. It's the highest over-under ever.
Are we gonna make it
18.
through? Are we gonna wade through 3 minutes of this guy's BS to get to that
Play
number?
along, everybody. Are you going over or under 18 minutes? 18 lies here.
This is Aaron Rodgers earlier on McAfee.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday was a day that reminds you of the simple fact that all of us who played know all too well, and that's that it's a tough business. It's a beautiful profession. It's incredible. It's done so much for our lives, but it's also a really tough business. I love Coach Saleh. We have a very solid relationship. We have since, I met him in 2021 and had a nice conversation when they came and visited us for joint practices. He was a big reason why I came to the Jets. I felt like the team, was a solid team. Had a relationship with Coach Hackett, obviously. And I really liked Coach Saleh. Everything that Matt LaFleur said about him, the few interactions I've had, the times that we went against him, I just had a lot of respect for him. And so, it was just a reminder yesterday how tough the business is. I think what people can forget in this is not only is Robert a fantastic human being and a damn good football coach, he's also a family man. He's got 7 kids. He's got an incredible wife. And the business of football can be hard, not just on those of us who are playing and coaching and doing personnel things and ownership, obviously, but it's tough on the families. And I've got to know Robert's family over the last couple of years, and especially one of his kids, Adam. Adam's my little throwing buddy from training camp. Love Adam. He's an incredible kid. And so I'm thinking there's obviously a lot of emotions, but you think about the family and the kids as much as, the people you love, your own family, who is the coaching staff and the players and what they're all going through. So, anybody who's kind of championing this decision, I would just appeal to the humanity of the situation and remind you there's other people involved. And Adam has to go to school today. Possibly, or this week. And hopefully there's no, kids with poor parents who are making snide side comments to him. It's just a reminder there's a lot of things involved in this. As far as any of the ridiculous allegations out there, I'm not going to spend more than one sentence in response to it, and that is that I resent any of those accusations because they're patently false. And it's interesting the amount of power that people think that I have, which I don't. But I love Robert, and it was, one of those days yesterday.
19!
Hit it right at the end.
Yes!
He did not let us down.
Yes, and full disclosure, I don't listen to this ahead of time. That's just years of listening to that guy's crap. 19. Everybody who bet the over, congratulations.
Oh, man. He went to the family card. I know his kid. I'm friends with his kid. I hope his kid doesn't get bullied. I had nothing to do with this.
then you know what? If you hope your kid doesn't get bullied, then you pipe down. You stop talking about it.
Or if he means that much to you, you have the power that he doesn't. You do. You're the franchise quarterback. You say, "What are we doing, guys? This is a mistake. Get out of here." Guy's the worst.
Thank you, Dan DeLorean, for putting that.
That was good.
Wow.
Maybe we'll get to McDermott later, but that won't be topped.
It's the start of a great day, Danger, when you can win an all-timer on McDermott with lies, except it's not McDermott, it's Aaron Rodgers lies we played today.
Let's get more winners.
Yeah.
PJ Glasser, the host of Send It In on the BetQL Network with his favorite plays in both college and pro football, next on The Fan.
Sports Update.
Bills practice today, and some players not on the field. Khalil Shakir at Oliver. Running back James Cook and Curtis Samuel, both Cook and Samuel dealing with some sort of toe/foot issue. Taylor Rapp was cleared today in concussion protocol. Taron Johnson was limited. And Coach Sean McDermott on the Jets defense.
I think they give most people problems, right? So really good defense, really talented defense. You know, it starts up front for them like most good defenses, and they've got high draft picks scattered throughout the entire defense, every level of defense, and we'll have our hands full.
How do you bet Bills Jets? We'll talk to our expert, PJ Glasser from the BetQL Network. He joins us next year in the Sports Bar. 4 games in the baseball playoffs. Detroit leading Cleveland 1-0. Tigers up in the second. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Joined now by the host of Send It In, Odyssey Sports Betting Insider PJ Glasser. Insider calls are presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. PJ, good to have you back on with us. Thanks for making time for us in the Sports Bar. We've got a full slate of games this weekend to look forward to in college and pro football. Let's start with that old Red River rivalry. They're not in the same conference anymore. Actually, I'm wrong in that. They're both SEC schools now. My mind needs to calibrate a little bit, but we love this rivalry, of course, between Texas and Oklahoma. It just highlights a great weekend of college football ahead. How are you, PJ?
I'm doing great, guys. Yeah, awesome slate this week. Might be one of the best ones that we have all year in the regular season. And Texas and Oklahoma, I think, is going to be closer than what the line has at 14.5. It feels like whenever these teams have played over the last decade, you always come into this matchup, and it feels like one team's trajectory is heading up and the other team is heading down, right? And certainly Texas, number one team in the country. They've looked great so far. Oklahoma suffered the loss to Tennessee. They've had some close games against Auburn, Tulane, Houston. Their offense is a mess. But ever since they made the switch to the quarterback, Michael Hawkins, they've been a little bit better. Both teams are coming off a bye week. 9 of the last 10 meetings, guys, between these two teams in the regular season have been decided by 8 points or less. They played also in the Big 12 title game a couple years back. But these games are always close, obviously a great rivalry, and it feels like the underdog in this matchup always plays really well. I was talking earlier about feels like one team's always heading up in this game, one team's headed down. Keep in mind, too, Texas is Georgia next week, so maybe coming out of the bye week, not quite showing all their cards in this matchup. I like Oklahoma plus the points. I don't know if they can win the game, but I like getting the hook with the 2 touchdowns, 14.5.
Late afternoon window, PJ. This is the one a lot of people are going to be watching, particularly in our area, because Penn State isn't that far a drive. And are the Nittany Lions for real? This is one of those new opponents, new settings. The Penn State Nittany Lions in Los Angeles to take on USC, 3:30 on CBS. Penn State giving 5 on the road, over under at 50.5. PJ, how do you play this?
I like USC, guys, plus the points. I think Penn State's on upset alert as well. Something that I love in college football is when you have a marquee matchup like this and you look at what happened the week before, and when one of those teams lose outright like USC did to Minnesota, those teams usually always bounce back and play really, really well, right? So you look at USC, they have 2 losses this season on the road against Michigan and Minnesota. Very easily could have won both of those games. They're a good home team. They still got a good offense. Their defense is much improved. And for me, it feels like the same old Penn State. Their offense certainly does feel more modern. It feels more explosive. But this is what we wanted to see. We wanted to see them in a big game where the chips are on the line. They're going up against a good team. Guys, here's something also to consider as well. This is now the 9th game that's being played in the Big Ten where a team has to travel through at least 2 time zones, right? Yeah. Penn State obviously has to go from Eastern to Pacific time zone. 1 in 7 straight up are those teams that have to go through time zones at 2 and more. So it's not been easy on these teams. We all wondered what it would be like, the new Big Ten and this geography from these schools on the West Coast going east and Midwest, whatever it may be, hasn't been kind so far for these schools. I think Penn State's going to struggle in this game. I like USC plus 5.5.
All right, here's another one of those new Pac-12 infused Big Ten games where you've got Oregon and Ohio State. What's your take on this one, PJ?
So I like Oregon plus the points, guys. I liked it a lot better at 4.5, obviously. I still like it at 3.5, anything over the field goal. I think Ohio State might be the best team in the country. I think they might be the most talented team. They're loaded all over the field. It just all comes down to the quarterback, Will Howard. And this is where we find out if he's the real deal. This is why Ohio State brought him in to be their quarterback, to take him over the top. Oregon this season, guys, their first 2 games against Idaho and Boise, they didn't look great. And I think everybody, after watching those 2 games, just kind of wrote the Ducks off. They have been getting better their last couple games. And, in these big games, Dan Lanning's come up short in a lot of them, but all of these games that he plays in are close. I mean, all these battles that they've had against Washington when DeBoer was there, they lost them, but all the games were 3 points. They're all tight. So I think anything over the field goal, I just mentioned, right? Teams that are traveling, time zones, +2, whatever it may be, have struggled in these spots. Night game at Autzen Stadium, unreal environment. I like the Ducks to keep it close. I don't know if I'd take a money line, but I like them 3.5.
Yeah, fantastic lineup we have here. And if you're bored with that game, or maybe this time's out at halftime, on Saturday night, you can switch over to Fox and see Iowa State and West Virginia. Cyclones giving 3 here on the road. PJ, I don't know how you're going to call this one. How do you see it?
I like West Virginia, Gene. I would take them outright, honestly. You're getting +3 at BetMGM, so key number there. I think that's good, but I think they win the game. Both of these teams are 2-0 in Big 12 play. Iowa State's undefeated. They're 5-0. West Virginia's 3-2, but both are unbeaten in conference play, so this is a monster game. Morgantown's just one of those places, guys, one of those venues. It's at night. It's a very tough place to play. West Virginia was very good in conference play last year. They match up well with Iowa State. Cyclones kind of want to play mistake-free football. They're well coached. They want to play good defense, run the football. West Virginia can play that kind of game too. I think their quarterback, Garrett Green, is going to be the difference in this game. I think it comes down to the wire, but give me West Virginia in a mini upset there, +3 and also +130 on the money line.
All right, let's shift gears to the NFL. Let's look at Sunday's action as we got the Texans fresh off their beating of the Bills on Sunday, taking on Drake May and the New England Patriots. PJ, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, guys, this is one of those ugly dogs that I like this week. We know how well these big underdogs have been doing in the NFL, and this is one I like with the Patriots plus the points. Really don't know what to expect with Drake May. I think that could be in the Patriots' favor just because the playbook is wide open. There's not really much tape that Houston has to look at. Also, they're coming off that big win against the Bills, right? Game-winning field goal, emotional win. Think about the Texans, too, last season. That was a team that made the playoffs and won their division, but 2 of their losses on the road were to 2 of the worst teams in football, guys. They lost to the Panthers on the road. They also lost to the Jets and Zach Wilson on the road. So, yes, this is a team that's very good. And, another year with C.J. Stroud, another year with DeMeco Ryans. But the Texans showed us last year, especially on the road, they can play to the level of their competition. They're 4-1 this season. They have a point differential of -5 as well, so they haven't been blowing anybody out. I just think this is too many points. Patriots are making the change to Drake May for a reason. They can't go with Jacoby Brissett anymore. I'll take New England with the key number of 7.
Yeah, PJ Glasser, who you hear on the Send It In show, BetQL Network, Monday through Thursday. We'll tell you more. You can get more PJ's content here. Here's a pop quiz for everybody. As which NFL game this week has the highest priced ticket on the resale market? And if you said Pittsburgh and Vegas, that's not correct, actually. The correct answer is actually Commanders and Ravens. $267. And PJ, I get this. I have a friend that lives in the Beltway, and You're down there. I would think there's a lot of hype for two teams that right now people are feeling really, really good about, and Washington hasn't been relevant since I don't know when. So from a betting standpoint, is there value here? Do you stay away? What's your thoughts here on Commanders and Ravens?
So if we're looking at the spread, guys, and you know I'm a Ravens fan, I come on here. I've actually liked a lot of their games the last 3 or 4 weeks. Like, I'm not a homer. I tell you if I like them. I tell you if I don't like them. I do kind of like them this week at -6.5. I actually think it would have been a great spot to fade them, coming off 3 really tough games against Dallas, Buffalo, Cincinnati. Unreal game last week. Now it's a 1 p.m. CBS game. You're a big favorite. I think it would have been a nice spot to fade them, but with how hot the Commanders are and with how well Jaden Daniels is playing and with all the comps to Lamar going on right now and the fact that this is the battle of the Beltways, a DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia rivalry game, I think it's going to bring the best out of the Ravens. And Lamar's 21-1 against the NFC. He dominates this conference. Harbaugh and the Ravens are 15-2 against rookie quarterbacks. They normally dominate young players. I know Jaden's on fire. Guys, the play that I actually like in this game is the under at 52. And I think it's going to scare a lot of people taking the under with the top 2 scoring offenses in the NFL and the way that both quarterbacks are playing right now. But you got to think about Jaden and Lamar are so tough to go up against because you can't scout them, right? You can't, prep for them. There's no one in any other locker room or any other team that has the skill set that those two guys do, but both defense have the advantage of playing against both of these guys every single day in practice, right? So when the Ravens go up against Jaden, they kind of know what they're going up against, and vice versa with the Commanders and the Ravens. So I like the under. You know, it's starting to drop a little bit too, which I think is telling you a lot. Game like this, I actually like the under, guys. That would be my play, under 52. All
right, let's talk a little bit of about a game that could be a points bonanza, and Lions-Cowboys, with the Cowboys getting that win on the road late on Sunday night.
I like the Lions -3, guys, in this matchup. This is a revenge game right here. Anybody who watches a Lions game in Ford Field recently, whether it was in the playoffs, whether it's been a couple of the regular season games this year. You guys remember these two teams played at the end of the regular season last year, and there was a very controversial call with one of their linemen, Dan Skipper, who went to Brad Allen, and he told him that he was eligible, and we all saw it. He brushed across his chest, and he caught the touchdown, and they ruled it ineligible, and the Lions got screwed. And every Lions home game, if you watch the game and you listen to the broadcast, whenever Skipper checks in, they always mock cheer, right? They always get excited. So the fans have been ready for this game. The players have been ready for this game. It's just a big-time revenge matchup. You also love spots in the NFL, guys, very profitable usually, when you get teams off of byes and they're going on the road because they're just more focused, right? Like if you're on a bye and you're at home, all that extra distraction, you don't lock in as quickly as you would if you have to get on a plane and go to a different city. So they got that going for them too. They're going to be hyper-focused. They've wanted this rematch against Dallas ever since that game late last year. And I think the Lions found something in that Seattle game. They started to look like the Lions team we all thought they would be heading into the season. I think this gets to 3.5, guys, by kickoff on Sunday, so I would grab the 3 now with Detroit.
Yeah, PJ, not coming off a bye, but they do get the extra rest. The Atlanta Falcons last Thursday night. Hey, from a fantasy standpoint, yay, finally, a show up there. That Atlanta offense we've been waiting for all these years. Now they go to Carolina, a Carolina team that has been up and down, and the Falcons are giving 6. Are you comfortable enough laying 6 points in Charlotte, PJ?
So, guys, I think this is going to be the upset of the week. I like Carolina +6. I like a money line +220. Think about Atlanta's schedule the last 4 weeks. Think about the fact that they've been in 3 primetime games, Monday against the Eagles, Sunday night against the Chiefs, Thursday night against the Bucks. Think about the fact that all those games came down to the wire. The Bucks game went to overtime. They also had that game against the Saints, a divisional matchup, where Koo had to drill a 58-yarder to win it. 4 straight weeks, guys. They've been in either high-profile games or they've been in a divisional game that have all come down to the wire, and they've all been close. And now you go on the road against one of the worst teams in football, and you're laying 6 points. I think it's a really, really nice spot for Carolina. You always like backing teams in the NFL that get blown out. They tend to play much better the next week. Carolina obviously just got blown out by Chicago. So I think this is a game that not a lot of people are going to want to bet because there are much more sexier matchups on the board. And, the Panthers aren't that great. It's like, do you really want to lay 6 with Atlanta? But I actually think it's a really, really favorable spot and matchup for the Carolina Panthers. So, guys, I grabbed the 6. I'd take a money line as well. And for anybody out there that's somehow still in their survivor pools, I would stay clear of Atlanta this week.
All right, PJ, I've been waiting to get your take on, of course, the matchup we've been spending the majority of our time talking about, and it's a little bit more intriguing now with the news that we got yesterday of Robert Saleh being fired by the New York Jets at home Monday night against the Bills. Right now on BetQL, well, I mean, it varies, -2, -2.5. The Bills favored by under a field goal. What's your take on this matchup here coming up?
I think the Jets are a great teaser leg this week at +8.5. I think it's going to be a one-possession game. I think it goes back up to 3. I think you got to take the Jets. It's a tough handicap. Now with all this Saleh news, you generally love backing teams in that first game when they fire a coach. You get that emotional lift. They tend to play really well. It feels like, and I'm sure you guys can talk about this better than me, it feels like Josh Allen tends to struggle at MetLife a lot whenever he goes up against that Jets defense. I remember last year he had a bunch of turnovers there. So the Bills obviously have lost 2 straight. Allen's never lost 3 straight games in a row. You got to figure they're going to play well. I think they did find a little something there in that second half against Houston that they can build on. But, man, the Jets have one of the top pass defenses. And Buffalo, especially without Shakir, hopefully he's back on Monday, but they really struggled without him. And they've struggled to throw the ball the last couple of weeks. So I like the Jets plus the points, especially if it gets to 3. Really is a toss-up of a game. I wish I could give you guys a definitive answer of who's going to win. If you had to make me pick it just because of Saleh getting fired, I'd probably take the Jets. But I would just bet this one on the spread, especially if it gets to 3. I like the Jets plus the points. This game's coming right down to the wire.
Yeah, there's a lot of injury fog coming out of Buffalo today, and we didn't have Ed Oliver playing for the Bills last week, nor Khalil Shakir, but now come to find out, wait a second, James Cook not practicing today, some sort of toe/foot. Same thing with Curtis Samuel, although Samuel, he's been a 0 as far as production this year, but in terms of Shakir and Cook, their status, PJ, is that enough to sway the line here, in your opinion?
It could be. I think Shakir's the big one. I mean, it's how important he is to Allen. He's kind of his security blanket. He's the veteran, especially amongst the receivers that he trusts. Look, I got Keon Coleman on my fantasy team, and I mean, you guys know it's all boom or bust with him. He's got 1 or 2 catches every week, and it's usually like a 40-yarder. So he's kind of taking care of the Gabe Davis role from last season. Shakir, I mean, certainly he's nowhere near what Diggs was in his prime, but that's kind of what he's asked to be. He's the possession receiver. He's the number 1 guy. I think if he's out there, you might see some money pour in and this line go back up to 3. But I would not bet Buffalo if he was out of the lineup. I couldn't touch the Bills if Shakir was not playing. So I think he is that important to the game.
I'm not going to ask you for any specific plays, but you're a sports fan like we are, so we're not going to ignore that we're in the middle of what might be one of the best postseason lineups we've had in Major League Baseball. I'm sorry about your O's, PJ. Have you sworn it off since the O's were eliminated, or are you still paying attention? And what are your thoughts on these 4 remaining series that we have here in the divisional round?
Yeah, guys, it's always tough, when like your team loses and you just like it doesn't quite hit the same. But this postseason has just been so good. First time ever that all 4 divisional series were tied 1-1, which tells you how good that it's been so far. I didn't touch this Tigers-Guardians game going on right now. I love the Phillies coming up against the Mets. I think the Mets win that series in 5 games, but we just all know, even though the Mets feel like the team of destiny right now, they are not going to make it easy on their fans, right? It's just not what they're going to do. Even when they beat the Brewers, they were up to, Milwaukee was up 2-0 in that game. So, Gene, even that game against the Braves, right? Game 161, when Atlanta came all the way back, and then the Mets, that's what they've been doing, guys. They don't make it easy. So I love them on Friday in Game 5, but I like Philly tonight to get the job done. I'd come right back with the Royals again tonight against the Yankees. I like the over in that game 8. I think we see some offense, but I like the Royals to take care of business at home. And then give me the Padres tonight. Guys, I think the Padres are the best team in baseball. I really do. I think it's going to be Padres, Mets, NLCS. I think whoever wins that series is going to win the World Series. But the Padres are better. Their pitching staff, starting pitching bullpen's elite. Their lineup is on fire right now. Machado, Tatis, Merrill, all of them are hitting the baseball really well. So I think the Padres get it done tonight. Royals, and then Phillies would be my favorite play of the day.
What's the third baseman's name in San Diego?
Manny something, right?
Manny Machado.
March can't get here soon enough, PJ. We'll dial up another Baltimore accent bracket soon enough, buddy. Tell us about Send It In and what you got working every afternoon on the BetQL network.
Yeah, guys, 1 to 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time every Monday through Friday. You can watch us on twitch.tv/BetQL, YouTube/Odyssey Sports. We're streaming live on the BetQL network. And it's basically like these interviews are, guys, right? We just go rapid fire. We run through all the sports. We give out picks throughout the day. So it's a lot of fun. It's interactive. So we encourage people to chime in and give their thoughts on what they like throughout the day. And show's been great, guys. I'm a March Madness guy, but October is maybe as good as it gets on the sports calendar. It's an awesome month. Everything's going on. So yeah, hopefully people can tune in to Send It In.
Without a doubt. PJ, appreciate your time, and let's go Mets, buddy.
Absolutely. Good luck to your Mets, Gino. Good talking to you guys.
Right,
you got it. PJ Glasser. He is the host of Send It In, an Odyssey Sports betting insider, and insider calls are presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app.
Yeah, we're going to reserve our picks here for the Bills-Jets, but actually I have to reserve my pick till Friday because I think that's actually a big deal. Like if James Cook is not in the lineup, if Khalil Shakir is going to be out again, if you have a lineup and Curtis Samuel will take him out, that you're going to be starting Mac Hollins opposite Keon Coleman with Ray Davis in the backfield. What are we doing here?
If you wait and you're somehow able to get the Jets plus a field goal, I feel pretty safe about that. I feel like, it could come down to a field goal. It could come down to the last possession. It could be tight. Like we saw week 1 last year when the Bills and the Jets faced off at MetLife. I want to believe that they're going to get things sorted out offensively as well. And no, James Cook certainly doesn't help that prospect. But there was something interesting that I saw. And when I saw it, I'm like, oh, my God. This is what every NFL team wishes they could do, and the Bills are not immune to it. The Bills will do it. I'll explain why, or I'll explain and tell you the team that continues to win with just a bunch of guys. The one thing being a differentiating factor that might be just a little bit different than what Buffalo has.
Okay. I'm still trying to figure out what team we're talking about here. Also, college football. We have this story. Is this real or not? This $9 billion proposal. It's almost like they listen to the sports bar. $9 billion to unite
9 times
college football. Is this going to happen in our lifetime or not? I have my prediction on it.
All right, we're going to get to that. And don't forget, coming up, Jim Riley, the Barreled Up podcast, the Odyssey exclusive. We'll talk some Major League Baseball postseason here coming up at the 4 o'clock hour as well. Stay in the sports bar and join in if you want at 866-4326, 585-866-4FAN.
Your favorite sports station, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
I love listening to the Sports Bar on the Odyssey app.
WROC AM, WBEE HD2 Rochester, and streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Injuries a concern for the Buffalo Bills not practicing today. Khalil Shakir, Ed Oliver, James Cook, and Curtis Samuel, both Cook and Samuel with toe/foot issues. Taylor Rapp has cleared concussion protocol. Taron Johnson was limited today. Bills head coach Sean McDermott on what's ahead.
I'm confident in this group. We take them one at a time. Certainly have a big challenge in front of us at New York this week, and against a Hall of Fame quarterback and a really good defense. So we just got to stay focused, taking it one day at a time and one game at a time here.
Bills and Jets, our coverage Monday begins at 4 o'clock here on The Fan Rochester. 4 games in the baseball playoffs, only one in progress. The Tigers leading the Guardians 2-0. They're in the top of the 4th. Mets and Phillies coming up at 5 o'clock in the 7 o'clock hour. It's the Yankees and Royals. Gene Battaglia on the sports leader, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
I'm confident in this group. We take them one at a time. Certainly have a big challenge in front of us at New York this week, and against a Hall of Fame quarterback and a really good defense. So we just got to stay focused, taking it one day at a time and one game at a time here.
Mike Danger.
They got to beat the Jets with an interim head coach, right? I mean, Monday night, we're laughing, right? If they lose to the Jets, we're having a different conversation this time next week. I have a hard time seeing them losing to the Jets and an interim head coach. It's a mess. The Jets are just going to jet. That's what they do.
Gene Battaglia.
I'm just not convinced the Bills are going to figure all this out on offense. That's also part of this, too. Put it this way. What makes you think that Josh Allen all of a sudden is going to, all right, it's the Jets. This is the team that has his number, the Jets.
Something special today. Let's go Mets.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
All right, so Gina, you mentioned the injuries in your update, and I'm sure you're not feeling that much more confident hearing what we heard today, that the Bills have a chance of getting over on the Jets come Monday night. We spent some time talking about how the Bills' skill position players just aren't necessarily plug and play, that when you make these throws that Allen is trying to make outside of the numbers this season, it's just not the same when you have a Diggs or even a Gabe Davis on the outside of those numbers. This is the arrogance of the Bills. But I get what they're thinking, and I don't think they're alone in this. I think in the NFL, there's an arrogance. There's, well, they can do it. Why can't we do it?
Yeah, well, I will give Brandon Beane a pass here in this regard, okay? The fact that they had to actually have a sit-down with Diggs, and, okay, this will be your last year. We'll move you off the roster. I think that was given. You couldn't afford to pay Gabe Davis, and when Jacksonville paid Gabe Davis. So they just didn't have a plan to replace those guys.
I don't blame them for doing what they did, and at the time they thought that was what was best for the football team. But when you look at a team like Kansas City, 5-0, they beat the Saints on Monday night. Their leading pass catchers on Monday night were, in order, a guy cut by the Patriots, a guy that we said was a washed-up 35-year-old tight end, a guy cut by the Jets, a backup tight end, a rookie go-route runner, a running back cut by the Broncos, a running back the Browns didn't re-sign, and a receiver that was cut by the Dolphins. So you're the Bills or really any NFL team. You see this and you think, well, we could do that too, right? Well, Joe Brady isn't Andy Reid. Josh Allen, sorry to say it, he's not Patrick Mahomes. And for the Bills to be where we want them to be, they both need to be better. And while I'm not blaming Allen for the 2 straight losses, the decision-making needs to improve. You got to get back to taking the easy, between-the-numbers throws, underneath, that the defense gives you. Mahomes has been brilliant at it his entire career, and Allen needs to be more consistent in this regard.
Well, I'd also point out this, too. Why are the Chiefs winning games? They allowed in the last 3 weeks 17 points to a guy who's being a top 10 paid quarterback. 10 points to a guy who's being paid a top 10 quarterback. And they allowed 13 points to the Saints. Their defense is getting the job done. So if you're just going to draw some comparison, it's, hey, they're the ones actually playing complementary football because eye test with the Chiefs offense, this doesn't look like the Chiefs, and you think, they're doomed. They're doomed. And
they're not.
Well, they're not. They're going to continue to pile up wins, and sooner or later, these guys are just going to kind of gel together. Look at baseball. Like, do the Mets have this great lineup? For that matter, the Royals or the Tigers. Like, it just sometimes it will gel. It will gel.
But is that your plan going into the offseason? Hey, let's bring in Curtis Samuel, MVS, and let's hope it gels. Let's hope it all comes together with the rookie. I guess that's what I'm talking about. I mean, talent is important when you don't have Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes can mask a lot of deficiencies, and I think Josh Allen can do the same, but only when Josh Allen is playing smart, not when Josh Allen's trying to make impossible throws on every single drop back. It was 30%, man, against Houston. It was not a great game for Josh Allen. I'm not blaming him for the loss. There's a lot of blame to go around for why they lost to the Texans, and in the second half, the offense kind of woke up a little bit. But, man, he missed on some throws.
He missed on what would have been 4 throws after he was concussed. I mean, I'm sorry, he was not concussed whatsoever.
He was cleared.
Yeah, that was not. He's not in protocol because there was no concussion. Look, if we're playing blame assessment for the Bills, and we talked to Matt Perino yesterday. If you missed that, you can find that wherever you find your great audio on the Odyssey app. We suggest. What about Dawson Knox? 3 catches for 30 yards in 5 games. We want to point the finger at. Hey, of all the guys
you're not getting value out of Knox. You're not getting value out of Samuel.
No, but okay, Samuel you whiffed on, but you had to make these hard choices. And we're saying, yes, see, let go of Mitch Morris and look, it all worked out. And that. You could have moved on from Dawson Knox, but because he's really tight with Josh Allen, is that the reason he's here? I asked Matt Perino point blank yesterday, hey, are we watching a player with diminishing skills? Matt was saying no. He wasn't ready to go there. Okay, then what is it? Because you're paying him like a top tight end in this league. I understand you have 2 tight ends, but my gosh, use the talent you have here.
Yeah, there's a lot of blame to go around. But when I look at what the Chiefs do, and this isn't the first time they've done it. I mean, we all saw them do what they did the year after Tyreek Hill was going, they're not going to be the same. They're not going to be the same. They don't look the same. They'll get something out of nothing. They'll get guys like Juju Smith-Schuster and Mecole Hardman. They will plug them in, and it will work. In that instance, they can throw S against the wall and see what sticks, and it will stick. You have Pat Mahomes. In the Bills' instance, you can throw S against the wall, hope it sticks, but you need Josh Allen to be a little bit better. You need your offensive coordinator to be a little bit better.
Yeah. It's 2 games. I'm not ready to panic. And look, like you're not as bad as you look last week. And I look, if the Bills end up being 3-3, isn't this where we thought they would be? Like, if you put this in reverse, the Bills losing to the Cardinals and Dolphins, but they won the last 3, we'd be like, whoo, yeah, let's go here. Sure. Yeah, it's just our recency bias plays a lot into this. Danger, the story out of Nashville where, hey, it's the SEC and it's the Big Ten, and they have this meeting with the investment capital firm named Smash Capital. What do? Well, just a bunch of investors, and, well, they've got some ex-Disney executives, a.k.a. ESPN, meeting with ADs from 30 Power 5 schools, or what do we call it now, 30 of the top conferences, asking to put together a proposal for $9 billion to reconfigure college football to make it a 70-school football league. Whether it's this or something like this in a few years, does this not feel inevitable, right? I'm going to go contrary on this. No, I don't think this is ever going to happen. How does that money get split up? You need an example here? Let's take Alabama. How do they feel in Alabama this week? What are they saying here? They're angry they lost to Vanderbilt. And rubbing salt in the wound, Alabama's the one that brings in the money, and Vanderbilt's getting some equal share? There's no way you're going to be able to divide up that $9 billion. Vanderbilt, lucky to be in the SEC. Missouri at this point. Lucky to be. You can sell a league concept in pro sports because, all right, owners buy in the idea that, newsflash, they want to sell eventually, sell higher, or at least live it to their kids and leave some sort of legacy. College presidents, they're not that forward thinking.
So many questions about this because it is very intriguing to me. And when you kind of see how schools are jockeying right now, it almost feels like this is the inevitability, right? Like you want to be in the SEC or you want to be in the Big Ten, and you don't want to be, if you're Syracuse, you don't want to be on the outside of a 70-school football league that includes all of the best teams that we watch year in and year out, right? You want to be relevant. You want to be a part of that as part of the ACC moving forward. So it feels like that is an inevitability. I hear what you're saying, and I'm wondering what the TV money looks like. I mean, you're going to infuse $9 billion into it if you're this investment firm, if you're Smash Capital. $9 billion, we're going to put this together. That $9 billion, I'm guessing some of that is going to go towards a TV deal. And then how does that TV revenue get shared across all of the schools?
I think the first thing you would do is, okay, here's your $9 billion. There's your clean break. Goodbye, NCAA. We're okay. So that I feel is inevitable.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
That feels inevitable, but why wouldn't just at this point, the Big Ten and the SEC say, no, we figured this out before everybody else. I'm sorry, ACC. We like you, Clemson and Syracuse, but no. Or maybe we'll just kind of cherry pick a few more and then call it a day here.
Or maybe it's not 70 schools. Maybe it is 50. Or maybe, like that. That's a tough one, man. I feel like this is going to happen. I feel like what we're working towards in college football specifically, not college athletics, but college football, they're their own programs. They are going to be run like organizations. They're going to have a GM. They're going to have somebody who's distributing that money, who's recruiting guys using the NIL money that they have. And they're going to, I mean, it's the wild, wild west. They're all going to be more competitive, and a team like Vanderbilt can rise up and beat Alabama on any given week because you just don't know.
So then who is going to police all this? Because from the NCAA, the basics here of, hey, go to class, make sure you're like all those things you're supposed to finger quote do above board.
Yeah.
If you're going to split off, are you really going to have somebody, hey, your quarterback, he hasn't, he's got a 0-0. He's not playing this week. No, I don't think that would be the case at all.
Student athletes. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Like, let's just eliminate the student part of it and just recognize it is what it is. These guys are athletes. They're paid athletes for these college programs. They're bringing a lot of money for the school. Are we going to continue to hold them to an academic standard? I don't think that standard, does that standard still exist? I mean, do you still have players that are ineligible or that get benched or that miss time because their grades are garbage?
Well, you will always have the Ivy League and the Patriot League and some other leagues that won't be part of this 70.
They won't be part of the 70.
No, they won't be part of the 70. But I think the idea, and this was actually Chip Kelly's kind of concept before he jumped ship at UCLA and went over to Ohio State. But he's talking about sharing. Okay, let's pick. You're Ohio State. You're going to share with Rutgers? No.
If you had an equal split, you're saying Ohio State wouldn't be okay with that. That they should get more.
You see this in the ACC right now. This is the infighting in the ACC that Clemson and Florida State
they want
saying,
more.
Hey, you don't want us to leave? Pay up. And I don't fault them for doing that.
Right. They're more valuable than the other ACC schools, they believe.
Wake Forest is not as valuable as Clemson.
Right. And so in the way this is being proposed, do we know that this is how it's being proposed? I mean, I guess we don't know the intricate details of how this $9 billion would be distributed, but I would have to imagine it wouldn't be an equal split, that it wouldn't be a complete revenue share.
I think I'd be surprised if this is the model they go off of. And $9 billion, I would think that you could get much, much more here. If you brought it in and you actually sold things like, I mean, it wasn't until this year they actually had advertising on the field. Like, why can't you do other things like advertising? Like, there are so many revenue streams in college football. all that the university presidents ever went through because, it's a conflict of interest. We're there for the student athletes, and we're not going to compromise ourselves.
That's so quaint. When are they going to start? Yeah, I mean, they're gonna start putting names on the stadiums, right? Like the famous historic stadiums that have names of legendary names. They're going to...
If colleges, Danger, and this is the biggest loophole of all time, are all tax exempt, why haven't we seen more schools take the NFL model and, hey, you know what? We're going to build our own stadium and keep all this luxury revenue, and then we'll just kind of wine and dine and everything. Northwestern's building their own stadium. Now, it's not going to look like an NFL stadium. That's why they're playing this makeshift thing. But will there be more schools like that? Because Penn State, okay, I get it. And I've never been there, but I've driven by it. Like, that's a big old rector set. Why don't you have, like, a stadium that actually you could make more money in? Lots of ideas running through my head.
Well, it's an intriguing time. I mean, I guess if we're in the moment, this college football season has been bananas already, right? Like, to see Alabama, Georgia a couple of weeks ago, and what just a magnificent college football game that was. Only to see Alabama fall on their face the following week to Vandy, and everything is up in the air.
Right, and the part of this, too, Danger, is in the old system, Alabama's done.
Yeah.
You're done. Well, they're not done.
No.
They're not done.
And I don't think they should be done, by the way. Like,
no, you lose at Vanderbilt, you should be out.
I'm sorry, man. I want to see them in the postseason. I want to see a rematch of what we saw 2 weeks ago. I want to see Alabama and Georgia or something of the like. I want to see Alabama, Texas. I want to see those schools. I would rather see Alabama with one bad loss than Boise State.
This expanded playoff is going to invite somebody in. Dare I say Army. They're undefeated.
That will be interesting to me.
Navy's still undefeated.
That will be interesting to me because I don't know that programs know how to deal with what they throw at you, right? Like, the way they play is not something that's easy to practice. They don't practice defending against that. It would be fun. It would be fun to watch.
It would be a blowout.
It would be fun to watch.
It would be a blowout.
It would be fun to watch. I don't think it would be a blowout. I don't think those schools are going to get blowout. I think it would be fun to watch. All right, well, that's the future. And God, man, I would love to be a fly on the wall for that presentation, for that pitch to those 30 schools.
Can you imagine all these ADs just drinking their wine in the afternoon or whatever it is? And
I'm kind of jealous. Kind of jealous.
Yeah.
Talking about throwing around money like that, $9 billion to create a super conference in college football. That would be something. Jim Riley is the host of the Barreled Up podcast, Ballcap Sports on YouTube. You can hear his work in the free-to-download Odyssey app. And if you're going to check out Ballcap on YouTube, may I suggest giving a like and a subscribe to The Fan Rochester, where we stream our show every afternoon, our channel, The Fan Rochester, on YouTube, also streaming on Twitch. And don't forget, you can get us on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. We talk Major League Baseball postseason with Riley next on The Fan.
Watch football this weekend at Havana Moe's. Free pizza at the half, free shots when Buffalo scores a touchdown. It's the one place where you can go have a drink and a cigar and watch football with the expert himself, Mo. It's Havana Moe's, East Ave.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Bills with some injury issues. We already knew about Khalil Shakir and Oliver. They were not on the field today. Also not practicing James Cook and Curtis Samuel, both with toe/foot issues. On the good news, Taylor Rapp has cleared concussion protocol. Taron Johnson was limited today. Head coach Sean McDermott on the Jets defense.
I think they give most people problems, right? So really good defense, really talented defense. You know, it starts up front for them like most good defenses, and they've got high draft picks scattered throughout the entire defense, every level of the defense, and we'll have our hands full.
Bills and Jets, our coverage begins Monday at 4 o'clock here on the Fan Rochester. 4 games in baseball today, 1 in progress. The Tigers are up on the Guardians 2-0 there in the top of the 5th. Coming up at the 5 o'clock hour, the Mets taking on the Phillies. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-432-6. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Let's talk some baseball postseason with our favorite Jim Riley. He is the host of the Barreled Up podcast and the free-to-download Odyssey app. Also, Ballcap Sports, the YouTube channel worth checking out if you're a baseball fan. And Jim, I feel like we are absolutely spoiled as sports fans when you look at these 4 division series happening right now. All of them 1-1 at one point. Now we've got the Tigers with the lead here over the Guardians. We've got 3 more games today. I mean, you've got to be foaming at the mouth with enthusiasm over this divisional round.
There is, at the best time of year, we're seeing some of the best baseball, individual performances, team performances across the board. It's great. You know, the fact that we're advancing through these divisional rounds, and we're sort of we're not seeing sweeps, we're not seeing lopsided results. These are great matchups, and like you said, we got 4 games today. And 2 of them could be done. We could see the National League wrap up tonight. I don't know if that's really what will happen, but it could happen. And it's just like you said, I'm really excited and enthusiastic about the baseball that we're seeing.
Yeah, Jim, let's start with the American League. And while we were in commercial break, I was joking with Danger. Are we ready for a Tigers-Royals ALCS? And Yankee fans are saying no, of course. I'm sure Fox executives, they hold the World Series rights, are saying no. The Yankees are cruising along. They've got Rodon in Game 2. And then baseball happens. It just kind of all falls apart in one inning. So the Yankees now going on the road, what I would think would be a hostile environment tonight that wasn't helped out in any matters by Jazz Chisholm saying the Royals got lucky. But how do you view this Yankee lineup? Are they good enough here to work counts and get on base and manufacture runs? Because that's what they may need here against the Royals.
Yeah, and Seth Lugo is this year established himself as one of the best pitchers in baseball. I mean, this is everybody loves to second guess Boone for his decisions. I really wish that we had Luis Gil going tonight. Now, maybe Aaron Boone is maybe he's overthinking this. Maybe he's thinking this beautifully, that you start Clark Schmidt, and if it goes bad, you can go to Luis Gil. And if it doesn't go bad with Clark Schmidt, then you can have Luis Gil ready for Game 4. But even in Game 4, they've announced it's going to be Cole. So yeah. I feel like this would have been a great moment there. But you've got a lineup that certainly can do work. Throughout the season, these 2 teams, Yankees and Royals, went head-to-head 7 times. And 3 of those 7 games, the Yankees put up double digits on the Kansas City pitching. So they have the ability to do it. We've seen in both of these games, Game 1 and Game 2. In Game 1, it was in favor of the Yankees. In Game 2, it was in favor of the Royals. It kind of boiled down to one inning where it got away. In Game 2, it was the 4th inning when Rodon got out of control. And in Game 1, it was the 5th inning when Kansas City just started walking everybody, which is very uncharacteristic for their pitching, because that's why Kansas City's here. The Kansas City pitching has carried them to this point. So, each game, it's been one inning. That first game for the Yankees, I called it an ugly win. Garrett Cole was not in Garrett Cole form. They got some breaks. They were the benefactor of some Royals mistakes and some Royals misexecution. And then in game two, Kansas City took advantage. So it's great. It feels like an evenly matched series, even though the Yankees have a far superior lineup. Kansas City's pitching is excellent, and it's really going to boil down to, can they work the counts with Lugo? Can they try to get into some hitter-friendly counts, take advantage of an opportunity? And look, I feel like, from the Yankees' perspective, being on the road here, this is pretty damn close to a must-win game. You can't go down 2-1 with KC with another game, and again, all that pitching they can throw at you.
Jim, handicap the rest of this Cleveland-Detroit series for us. Is Detroit with a 2-0 lead here in the bottom of the fifth, and getting some runners on base here in the bottom of the fifth as well. Let's assume right now that Detroit does go up 2-1. What do you counter with your Cleveland, if you're Cleveland, and what does the rest of this series look like to you?
Well, I hate to say it, it's not going to matter what Cleveland does. If they don't win this game, Cleveland is up the creek, no paddle, because Detroit, after game two, all they needed to do from 3 or 4, they only needed to get one of them to assure Tarek Skubal, if you need him, in game 5. And Skubal, to this point, has not allowed a run in his 2 postseason starts. They have been spectacular, and I would expect nothing else than spectacular from Tarek Skubal in game 5. So Cleveland really needs to come back and grab this game, because you don't want to set yourself up, because that's what will happen. Now, look, Detroit could always finish it in game 4, and then Tarek Skubal is ready to go in the ALCS game 1. But if Cleveland loses today and finds a way to win tomorrow, hey, guess what? Congratulations. You get to face Tarek Skubal in the elimination game, and you're going to hope that something strange happens and you're on the positive side of that, and Skubal somehow falters, or again, you can outlast him, similar to how the Mets outlasted Wheeler and the Phillies early on in that series, and get to the bullpen.
Yeah,
it's really one of those things. The fact that you have Tarek Skubal looming for Game 5, Detroit wins this game, puts them in a great spot.
Yeah, Detroit right now up 2-0. They're in the bottom of the fifth. Jim Riley, our friend, we're talking some baseball with him. Jim Riley, the Barreled Up podcast. You can check him out on YouTube on Ballcap Sports as well. Jim, I haven't seen if the Dodgers have announced who they're starting tonight. They're going to have to make up their mind here pretty soon. But I just look at the 2 lineups, and I see the Padres mashing, and it certainly helps when you get a Rookie of the Year coming out of nowhere, Jackson Merrill, right in the middle of that lineup. And then I look at the Dodger lineup, very top-heavy. This just feels like an inevitability. I don't know if it's tonight or if it's going to be Game 5, but the Padres clearly, in my mind, the better team here. But how do you view this matchup here tonight? Dodgers needing a win to stay alive.
There is just a wave of momentum the San Diego Padres are riding, and you've got a little brother trying to beat up on big brother and take big brother out. That whole thing. You had the I don't want to go as far as calling it a war of words, because it really wasn't that. I feel like the media maybe took it a little beyond, but a intense matchup. And you're right, this Padres team feels much more dangerous. So doing a live stream the other night, and somebody brought up that thought that the Padres lineup is far superior than the Dodgers lineup. And just first reaction to that was like, yeah, you're right. And then I was like, no, that can't be right. So I go online and I pull up the rosters, and I'm reminded of how dangerous this Dodgers lineup can be by looking at the names. Problem is we're not really seeing much of that. Ohtani had an amazing first game of the series and really carried the Dodgers to that game. Shohei Ohtani, of the 7 runs that the Dodgers scored in the first game, he had his fingerprints on 6 of them, either directly by scoring the run or driving in the run, or extending the inning, getting the hit, getting the guy who would inevitably score, getting that guy over in the scoring position. Had his fingerprints all over. Since then, he's 1-for-8 with 4 strikeouts and has only come up to bat with somebody on base ahead of him once. So the Padres have done a great job of eliminating the Shohei Ohtani factor these last 2 games. And because of it, they're now up 2-1. They're going to throw Dylan Cease tonight, who didn't look that great against the Dodgers in game 1, but we know how good Dylan Cease can be. And the Dodgers are going to go with the bullpen day. They haven't announced a starter because they're probably going to wait last minute. They're probably waiting to see that this is the gamesmanship. They're probably waiting to see what the Padres lineup is going to look like to decide if they want to start with a right-hander or a left-hander. They're going to play the matchups throughout this whole game, and I keep their fingers crossed that the Padres lineup doesn't, that those bats don't explode.
Yeah, Fernando Tatis in this series, 636 on base per percentage. I mean, it's ungodly. Question about what we saw up in Los Angeles. We didn't see it as much as last night, but I will say this. I love when fans are so into it and so passionate. And in my opinion, this actually is the best rivalry in baseball today. Do you think it went a little too far with the throwing things on the field? And what did you make of the whole Manny Machado? Was he really throwing the ball at Dave Roberts there?
We can only take these players and what they said. Manny said he was throwing it towards the ball boy so that he could give it to somebody in the crowd. And the Dodgers say, he was throwing it at Dave Roberts. I mean, it's like 3rd grade. You have 2 kids. You're trying to figure out who did what, who pushed Sally over, and you're never going to get the straight story. But with the fans, it was very interesting. I don't know if you saw, I believe it was John Boy or Bleacher Report or somebody posted on Twitter or Instagram or one of the social media outlets a video that started the whole thing. Jurickson Profar was actually handing a baseball to a Dodgers fan in the front row, and you could kind of tell that fan didn't want the baseball. And Profar had a big smile on his face, like he thought it was funny. He was like, "Here, I'm going to give this Dodger fan a baseball," and the Dodger fan's like, "I don't want it." So the Dodger fan takes the ball from Jurickson Profar and throws it back in the direction of home plate, not in the direction of Jurickson Profar. It's like what Cubs fans do, or what a fan does when the road team hits a home run, throw it back.
Yeah,
basically what he did. But outside of that little bubble, outside of that situation between Profar and that Dodgers fan, there was another fan that looks like would have been a row up, must have thought that meant it was go time. And he threw another ball, that one in the direction of Jurickson Profar, and then it got completely out of control. So it seemed like there were definitely some Dodger fans that were ready to get something fired up there, get something started. And unfortunately, it delays the game. Doesn't have too much of an impact on the game, but you can't do that. I mean, you can we see players get in trouble if they talk back or try to clap back at the fans, and then we get really mad at those players for doing that because they're the millionaires and they're the players. I hold fans just accountable. Just because you bought a ticket doesn't give you the right to be a jerk, and doesn't certainly give you the right to throw anything on the field. I don't like it.
Jim, I want to go back to the Dodgers for a second because this is a team that's built to win championships, and then they add Ohtani. So if they fall short again this year, I mean, with their one championship coming during the weird COVID season, who are we assessing blame to here? What is it about the Dodgers with this roster being as stacked as it is where they can't get over and get more than just one title?
Well, this year is all about injuries. And in years past, last year it was injuries to the pitching. This year it's injuries to the pitching again. I think if there's a head that needs to roll, it's going to have to be on the training side or something on the medical staff side. I don't know, because this team could have a stacked playoff rotation assembled with the guys they have on the injured list, with Tyler Glasnow, Gavin Stone, Two players that pitched magnificently during the season are not available. Clayton Kershaw tried to come back. His toe wouldn't let him. Tony Gonsolin in the past has been a very effective pitcher for the Dodgers. Emmett Sheehan last year was very effective. These guys are all hurt. So this team, despite all of that, and even during the season, they dealt with a Mookie Betts injury, a Max Muncy injury, a Freddie Freeman personal issue. They have dealt with so much adversity that you would think it would help them get through times like this. But in the end, it seems like the injuries have sort of crept back up. Freddie Freeman is dealing with a twisted ankle. He can't run. Freddie Freeman can't run right now. Last thing you want is Freddie Freeman to hit a ball in the gap in the first inning because it's only going to be a single and it's going to slow everything down. I do wonder what the Dodgers front office thinks about if they give Dave Roberts a pass because of all the injuries, if they lose this series to the Padres. That is the interesting thing. I think they could go. I think Dave Roberts could survive a postseason where they don't win the World Series. But I don't know, even with the injuries, if he can survive a postseason where they drop in the second round again, like last year, to a team that front office views as far inferior. Last year was Arizona. This year would be San Diego. That'd be a really bad look. And if they give him one more chance or let him keep his job, it will have to be his last chance.
Jim Riley, the Barreled Up Podcast, our guest. You can listen to it in the Odyssey app, talking some baseball. Jim, Mets and Phillies here. That's coming up at 5 o'clock. And going back to game one in this series, Zach Wheeler was magnificent for the Phillies.
Mm-hmm.
But he can't pitch all 9 innings. And then they turn it over to the bullpen. And it's not like the Mets bullpen has been lights out either. Is this just going to come down simply to whose bullpen sucks less here in Game 4 and potentially Game 5?
You know, I look at the matchups tonight. Jose Quintana has looked really good in the postseason this year. He pitched in the clincher, that Brewers game in the wild card round. He was magnificent. He pitched against the Phillies in September and completely shut them down. You also had in 2022, he saw the October version of the Phillies when he was on the Cardinals. So Jose Quintana has so much confidence that he has going into this start tonight that I really expect him to shine. I believe if as long as everything's firing right, the mechanics are right, the velocity is right, everything, as long as Quintana is Quintana, then he is going to shut the Phillies down. He's done it recently. He's done it in the past. He's faced this lineup in October. So he checks all the boxes. Suarez makes me nervous. So I don't know if it's necessarily going to be a bullpen game because Ranger Suarez, who has really not been good the second half of the season. In September, Ranger Suarez ERA went over 6. So you have of the starters that Philly was going to throw out there, Ranger Suarez is the most susceptible to being pounced. He's going tonight. And this bullpen, you brought it up, I don't have a ton of faith in the Phillies bullpen either. So these Mets bats that have been dangerous, Mark Vientos is having an amazing postseason. His first postseason, he's been great. You'd think that Mark Vientos has been a postseason veteran of 5 or 6, 7 years. Pete Alonso is having major moment, big moment after big moment. This feels like the Phillies are in trouble tonight because I don't like Suarez going, and if you got to take Suarez out, I don't like what the options are coming out of the bullpen. I think the Phillies are in trouble.
Do you think that the Phillies offensively could – I mean, they obviously get more out of guys like Trey Turner, but it feels like Trey Turner needs to have a game here at some point where you could say, oh, that was Trey Turner's win.
No, they need that. This team right now, Marsh, Realmuto, those two don't have a hit yet in this series. Alec Boehm has 1 hit. Kyle Schwarber, since that leadoff home run against Kodai Senga in Game 1, he has 1 hit since that home run. So you've got, yes, you're looking for Trey Turner to have a big game. You're looking for Bryce to have a big game, but you're also looking for something out of half of the other guys in that lineup. They've got to step up. It really feels like if I was a Phillies fan, of all of these teams playing today, that fan base would be the highest panic level, would be a Phillies fan right now.
I'm going to admit I'm not a fan of Wainwright and Brzezinski here. Maybe that's because it's, watching a lot of Mets baseball. I'm spoiled by Keith and Ron and Gary. But they're better, this group on FS1. Where do you come down on Bob Costas?
Oh, here we go.
Bob Costas, I think if you are over the age of 50, you probably love Bob Costas. And then 40 to 50, he's very polarizing. And then if you're under the age of 40, you probably can't stand him. I mean, I grew up with Bob Costas doing games. I remember Bob Costas waxing poetically about baseball in the Ken Burns documentary. I give Bob Costas a longer leash. I know that some of the stuff is not that great. There's a clip that went around of after Stanton hitting into the double play, Bob Costas sounding defeated that Stanton had hit into a double play, and they're talking about how, look at this, he's such a Yankees homer and all this and all that. And it's one of the reasons why I've sort of taken a step back from Twitter because, I mean, as we all know, there's so many uninformed out there that are boasting about, opinions that they think are rock solid in their standing. Bob Costas had just been going on about how the Yankees, to take care of Stanton, don't let him bust it out of the run hard, bust it up the line. They want him to stay healthy for his bat. They're more interested in him staying in the lineup to hit home runs than they are him trying to beat out plays at first base. So he had just been going on about that, and then almost as if when you're giving an example, you're talking about why someone can't do something, and then that thing happens, you kind of almost had to have this like disappointed way about it, like, oh, see, there it is. That's what happened. So I know that, again, a lot of people, Bob Costas is firing up a lot of people right now. I guess I have a longer leash for Bob, and but he definitely, he's good for a gaffe or two every game. Where are you guys at with Bob Costas? I'm curious.
Go ahead, Gene. You brought it up.
He is the last of his kind. I think Bob emulates you brought up Ken Burns baseball, the Vin Scullys, the Red Barbers, all those guys that I'm going to carry the broadcast myself. And broadcasting in 2024, especially when you have a guy like Ron Darling and you have sideline reporters and you have everything else, to me, when you get to postseason baseball, less is more. I don't need your witty stuff about the Penguins and everything else and history lesson and everything. He needs to dial it back, and I don't think that the postseason format, he would be great as a radio guy doing 162 games by himself. And who does that anymore? Sure. No one.
I agree with pretty much everything you said, Jim, and I will give him a little bit of a longer leash because, like you, I remember just watching him growing up and thinking this guy's really good at his job. And I think he is really good at his job. I would just bump it up maybe. You said anybody over the age of 50 loves it. I would bump it up to, Gene, you're 54, I want to say? 53. Let's go 55. Anybody over the age of 55 probably has a bigger appreciation for it.
We got to get above Gene.
Yeah, we got to get it above Gene, and then I think we're okay. I think that Gene and my neighbor Timmy Parmesan. Those are the two guys that I've heard about it the most.
Funny, like we had the same exact take, texting danger.
Yeah, absolutely. Jim, tell us about Barreled Up. Tell us about Ball Cap. While we have a couple of minutes here, we appreciate you giving us some of this time here.
Yeah, no, I love coming on and talking baseball with you guys anytime. Happy to do it. Make sure anybody hasn't hit up the Barreled Up podcast on the Odyssey Network or Ball Cap Sports. Check it out. I am all over postseason baseball right now. Content is and shows are dropping every single day. And once this thing is over, we'll be diving into all of the excitement and the activity that surrounds the off season with free agents and trades. So it's exciting right now. And even though the baseball season ends here in a couple of weeks, I think the excitement's just getting started because we have all of the player movement throughout the winter.
Oh, it's a Met fan. No. La. I don't want to talk about Alonso.
Talk about that for a second because that was the funniest thing to me about the Alonso home run against the Brewers is that moments before Alonso hit that home run, and I know you're not on X as much as you used to be, Jim, but I was scrolling through my feed, and the Mets fans in my feed,
gosh, people, get him off.
They couldn't wait to get this guy off their roster. Well, that was a nice run. Can't wait for Alonso to leave this team. Then he becomes the hero, which I kind of have a little bit of an issue with as far as your fandom is concerned. But did Alonso do? Is he done something now where it's like if you're the Mets, you're like, well, we can't move on from him. What do you think his pathway is here?
I think he has to be back. I think this only solidifies that. I can remember this time last year, I started talking about Pete Alonso trades, and Mets fans were coming at me with pitchforks and knives. They wanted to take me out. And then this year happened, and his power's a little down, and he's giving some sound bites that I think fans are kind of like, not too happy with. I think they were just preparing themselves. They over-prepared themselves for him to be off the team. And now you're getting that refresher, that reminder of how much of a power hitter he is. He's one of the best power hitters in the game. And when you look at the free agent market, guys, it's going to be very hard to get Juan Soto on that team. And when Juan Soto either goes back to the Yankees or anywhere else, when you think about, okay, what's the next big power bat in this market? It's Pete Alonso. So you can't. I think he needs to be back, and I do think this postseason series with the home run in Milwaukee and a big home run against the Phillies, and I think he's due for another big moment or two. This Mets team, I started talking about it 2 months ago. MLB and ESPN have started picking up on it. This Mets team feels like it is a team of destiny kind of thing, and Pete Alonso is just grabbing on to that, and you're seeing some of that divine intervention with Pete Alonso's at-bats now. He's got to be back. I think he's a Met.
Well, meaning if the Mets kind of bow out here, whether it's Philadelphia or the next round, or dare I say the World Series, you will have those memorable home runs. In that city, if the Yankees bow out and Aaron Judge doesn't start hitting, I mean, that's just a natural comparison here, that Aaron Judge right now to this day, and it's only been a couple games, he hasn't shown up yet.
No, he hasn't. But and again, this is when top pitching is going to neutralize top hitting. I mean, Shohei Ohtani, the last 2 games, 1 for 8, 4 strikeouts. So these guys can go through these stretches. I think you're right. If the Yankees go down to Kansas City and Aaron Judge is struggling, the finger point is going to happen, and he's going to have to deal with that. He's going to have some uncomfortable, interview questions that he's going to have to answer. But at the end of the day, I think Yankees fans will rally around Aaron Judge. He just can't make this a regular thing. He can't make this something that is something you see every year. I think Yankee fans will rally back around him once if it even happens, once they cool off.
You're the best, bud. Thanks for giving us the time. Let's do it again soon.
Thanks, guys. Talk soon. You
got it. Jim Riley, Ballcap Sports on YouTube. And don't forget to check out the Barreled Up podcast, the Odyssey exclusive in the free-to-download Odyssey app, AUDACY, your home for all your favorite audio, including the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
We've got the Tigers nursing this 2-0 lead, bottom of the 6 against the Guardians, and coming up in about 10 minutes.
Well, this is my tease for happy hour. If you want to hear a distracted Gene Battaglia, stay with us, because the 5 o'clock hour,
I will not be distracted. I will be dispensing my Bills takes, my concerns about James Cook and Khalil Shakir. We'll give you insight on the Buffalo Bills. I will not be distracted whatsoever, Mike Danger.
All right. Yeah, there you have it. There's the words of Gene Battaglia as we get ready for our first pitch here between the Mets and the Phillies.
This is why live radio is better than any podcast. I'm sorry. We're bringing this to you live.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get to happy hour next. We have time for your calls if you want to pull up a stool. 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
W239BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Today we learned that James Cook and Curtis Samuel both battling injuries, both essentially the same injury, some sort of toe/foot issue, both not practicing today. Also not practicing once again, Khalil Shakir and Ed Oliver. On the good side, Taylor Rapp has clear concussion protocol. Taron Johnson was limited today. And Coach Sean McDermott on what's ahead.
I think they give most people problems, right? So really good defense, really talented defense. You know, it starts up front for them like most good defenses, and they've got high draft picks scattered throughout the entire defense, every level of defense, and we'll have our hands full.
Bills and Jets, our coverage begins Monday at 4 o'clock here on the Fan Rochester. The Tigers leading the Guardians 3-0. They're in the bottom of the sixth. Coming up in a few minutes, it's Game 4, the Mets hosting the Phillies. Gene Battaglia and the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
I'm confident in this group. We take them one at a time. Certainly have a big challenge in front of us at New York this week, and against a Hall of Fame quarterback and a really good defense. So we just got to stay focused, taking it one day at a time and one game at a time here.
Mike Danger.
They got to beat the Jets with an interim head coach, right? I mean, Monday night, we're laughing, right? If they lose to the Jets, we're having a different conversation this time next week. I have a hard time seeing them losing to the Jets and an interim head coach. It's a mess. The Jets are just going to jet. That's what they do.
Gene Battaglia.
I'm just not convinced the Bills are going to figure all this out on offense. That's also part of this, too. Put it this way. What makes you think that Josh Allen all of a sudden is going to, all right, it's the Jets. This is the team that has his number, the Jets.
Something special today. Let's go Mets.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Happy hour in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. We're glad you're along for the ride. Appreciate you listening, however you may be doing so. We're at 95.7 FM, AM 950. The free-to-download Odyssey app where we're sounding our best. You can get us on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. We're even streaming the show on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester, streaming on Twitch as well at The Fan Rochester. And me being a good friend, I'm trying to find a way to cast this Mets game in our studio here. We were able to the other day, and let me, Gene, bear with me. You're right. This is live radio. This is live radio. This is the magic of live radio. We want Gene's natural and live reaction. This is what they do kind of on BetMGM tonight, right? With Horvat and with Money Evans.
Yeah.
I mean, like they really like
Horvat, Ryan Horvat.
Yeah. They react in real time to their plays, and you don't have any action in this game, but I do. In fact, I'm such a good friend. I decided I would take Phillies on the money line here just to ensure that the Mets get a win for you today, Gino.
How much money do you win tonight?
Double what I put in because I got the Phillies at plus money.
If you win money at my expense, my fandom expense, Mike Danger, how does that make you a good friend?
I'm a good friend because I get kicked in the teeth when I bet on baseball. So trust me when I say me taking the Phillies, that has to ensure that you're getting a Mets win. There we go.
That's it. Now we're in good shape.
Gene's there. We're happy. We're at Citi Field. Verducci's delivering his pregame report. We're ready. We're ready for Game 4.
Here's the fun fact. Citi Field opened in 2009. They've never clinched anything.
No parties, no celebrations.
Nothing. Now, you know what the Mets like to do. Like every baseball team.
Wear Grimace costumes to the ballpark?
No, like a party. Like, is there going to be a party in San Diego tonight? Of course. It's baseball if they win.
Yeah. Well, we switched away from the Tigers Guardians matchup. I believe it was 3-0. I believe Tigers up in that one that's nearing its conclusion, and the Tigers look to take a 2-1 series lead there as well.
Yeah, we have time for calls. It's happy hour 866-4FAN 866-4326. Wow, James Cook got hurt. Curtis Samuel not available? Apparently the Samuel thing goes back. Danger, is this just a narrative that's being fed to us just to explain why he hasn't been a part of this offense at all?
Sean McDermott on the Buffalo Bills injury update.
So Taylor Rapp has cleared concussion protocol. Ed Oliver will not practice today. Shakir will not practice. James Cook will not practice. Curtis Samuel will not practice. All three of those will take it one day at a time here, and then Taron Johnson and Austin Johnson both will be limited today, and then Darrington Evans will return to practice in the IR category. Yes, yeah. So we'll see where it goes. We'll know a little bit more coming off of today and into tomorrow.
What is the injury on James?
James is a foot-toe injury. I believe around the same thing, ironically enough. So yeah.
If you're dealing with two players, Samuel and Cook, both dealing with turf toe, bad news.
That's really bad news.
If it is turf toe, I mean they're vague and we don't know. But if you assume the worst, turf toe is going to be nagging and lingering, and for either of those guys that have that cutting ability, that speed, that's tough.
I want to know more about the Shakir injury. Is that a high ankle? Is it a normal ankle strain?
I'm fairly certain that's a high ankle, right?
Right. And if it's a high ankle, I mean, they obviously didn't put him on IR, and it might be too late to kind of do that. But I will contend that in a year, we haven't had a year like this, right? Since we've been doing the show, at least, we have all these injuries all in front of you. Well, Milano to Dorian Williams, or Terrell Bernard to Balin Spector, they're not as great, though, that gap, as between Khalil Shakir and whatever else there. Not having Khalil Shakir has been a big, big problem. And if you're this new head coach, well, I'm sure he's going to put his fingerprints all over on the Jet defense. You're just kind of ignoring here whatever the Bills put on the outside at wide receiver without Khalil Shakir this week.
I mean, do you think Sauce Gardner is going to have a tough time? I don't see Sauce Gardner having any issue.
This isn't exactly Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison they're dealing with here.
Absolutely not. So, rough news there from the injury report there from Sean McDermott before today's practice.
It's rough, too, because the plan B here would always be, all right, this doesn't look like the passing attack. Just run the ball. And can they do that with Ray Davis and Ty Johnson, Danger? Is that going to be the plan? Read option with Josh Allen? Are we I'm not being cheeky. I mean, is that enough?
I would like to see Joe Brady, Josh Allen, and this offense play to the strengths. And if you look at what they've been through 5 weeks of this season, where they've had success as an offense happens between the numbers. Not on the outside of the numbers, not on the perimeter, between the numbers. And, yeah, that bodes well for the running game. And you've gotten a good push. The offensive line, with the exception of that hamstring injury that, kind of might be lingering there for Deion Dawkins. We may never know about that. But they've done a pretty good job, and they've been able to run the football. I mean, how many of us were watching the end of that Houston game just saying, why aren't you running the ball? You just run the ball. You've done a good job running the ball. Run the ball. It's between the numbers. That's where I want to see the Bills offense take things against the Jets, and I know that the Jets are problematic on defense. We're going to hear a lot about that. But the plays that are happening outside of the numbers, they feel high risk, they feel low percentage, and it just doesn't feel like the right decision. If you really want to be efficient offensively, I think for the Bills, it's got to happen between those numbers.
Well, what happens between the numbers, what are you describing? Play action. Is that a part of this offense? I would think that would be where you would start. Establish just some sort of running game. If that ends up being Ray Davis and Ty Johnson this week. But, gosh, if you have Josh Allen, just that split half second. In an offensive line, Danger, can we just be honest? Well, they started out really great, and we're doing all the blame assessment. It was not a good game for Spencer Brown. Osiris Torrance hasn't had a great season to date. I mean, you need to give the offensive line a little bit of help here.
Yeah, the pocket the last couple of weeks has not been what we saw out of the first three. I mean, Josh Allen didn't take a hit the first 3 weeks of the season, right? They protected him really well. That pocket has been a little bit more of a struggle here the last couple of weeks, and you hope that can get corrected here as well. I just think you got to get the ball out quickly. if you're Josh Allen. And again, Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox. We talked to Perino yesterday about Dawson Knox. I mean, you've invested in this 2 tight end formation. You want to run this 12 personnel, utilize your tight ends, and maybe defenses are taking that away from Josh Allen and forcing him to throw it outside. It's just the wrong decision. It feels like almost every time he throws to the boundary, it's an incomplete pass. It's a harder pass to complete. It's a lower percentage play, and it hurts the efficiency of this offense that was so great for 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think that even with all that being said, this isn't Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. It's not C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, by the way. By the way, Nico Collins going on IR today, tough. So that is tough with that hamstring. It's old man Aaron Rodgers. So can the Bills just win ugly here? Can they eke out a 13-10 win? And the answer to that is, well, are we feeling good about special teams? Are we feeling good about all the things that we were feeling good about? All the good vibes have disappeared here.
I know that a win is a win, and if you win ugly, you don't have to apologize for that. But I also know that good teams beat up and bully bad teams. They do what they're supposed to do against bad teams. And would we consider the Jets, who just fired their head coach, to be a bad team? I consider them to be a bad team. I would love, not for the Bills to win by a field goal. I would love for them to blow the Jets out. I would love for them to play the Jets the way they did in the middle of the season last year, not at the beginning of the season last year. And I think a lot of us, because we see the team going to the Meadowlands, because that defense has been a struggle for Josh Allen to figure out in the past, I think we worry that it's going to be close, but it shouldn't be. The Bills should bully the Jets.
Well, I think the Jets aren't a bad team. They're an underachieving team, and hence the coaching change. You look at the talent, and yes, you could say that's McDermott, McLeish, the fact that, well, they've got first-rounders. They do have talent on the defensive side of the ball. They do. And they have, especially when, you could say maybe exclusively when they play at MetLife, that's when the Jets always seem to play Josh Allen tough. So from that standpoint, that's what made you yesterday unique. That felt like an NHL fire. That felt like what the Sabres, quite frankly, should have done in December. Like, hey, this is not working. Let's get somebody else in there. Aaron Rodgers today going on McAfee, by the way, saying, how dare anybody suggest that I had anything to do with this?
All right. We did it earlier, but do we want to repeat this? Because this is Aaron Rodgers giving us a good 3 minutes. What I love about this is Rodgers doesn't speak to any of the reasoning that the football coach was fired, but rather just talks about the struggle of this industry. This business is a tough business, and you can't just think about the coach. You got to go deeper, man. You got to think about the kids. One of the kids who I'm friends with, we play catch, and I'm tight with Robert Sell.
Oh, my gosh. Talk about a misdirection. When we did the the McDermott meter on him, I put the over-under at 18. Now, I know the result here. Is he going to go over or under 18 lies in, how long is the cut here, Danger?
It's about 3 minutes.
Aaron Rodgers yapping for 3 minutes.
On Pat McAfee earlier today.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday was a day that reminds you of the simple fact that all of us who played know all too well, and that's that it's a tough business. It's a beautiful profession. It's incredible. It's done so much for our lives, but it's also a really tough business. I love Coach Saleh. We have a very solid relationship. We have since, I met him in 2021 and had a nice conversation when they came and visited us for joint practices. He was a big reason why I came to the Jets. I felt like the team, was a solid team. Had a relationship with Coach Hackett, obviously. And I really liked Coach Saleh. Everything that Matt LaFleur said about him, the few interactions I've had, the times that we went against him, I just had a lot of respect for him. And so, it was just a reminder yesterday how tough the business is. I think what people can forget in this is not only is Robert a fantastic human being and a damn good football coach, he's also a family man. He's got 7 kids. He's got an incredible wife. And the business of football can be hard, not just on those of us who are playing and coaching and doing personnel things and ownership, obviously, but it's tough on the families. And I've got to know Robert's family over the last couple of years, and especially one of his kids, Adam. Adam's my little throwing buddy from training camp. Love Adam. He's an incredible kid. And, so I'm thinking there's obviously a lot of emotions, but you think about the family and the kids as much as, the people you love, your own family, who is the coaching staff and the players and what they're all going through. So, anybody who's kind of championing this decision, I would just appeal to the humanity of the situation and remind you there's other people involved. And Adam has to go to school today, possibly, or this week. And hopefully there's no, kids with poor parents who are making snide side comments to him. It's just a reminder there's a lot of things involved in this. As far as any of the ridiculous allegations out there, I'm not going to spend more than one sentence in response to it, and that is that I resent any of those accusations because they're patently false. And it's interesting the amount of power that people think that I have, which I don't. But I love Robert, and it was, one of those days yesterday.
19?
19.
Yeah, he rallied at the end there.
Yeah, that was a big turnaround.
By the way, how does anybody else see the irony of this guy commenting on the humanity and the family element from a guy who's estranged from his family, a guy who doesn't acknowledge his family, a guy who doesn't give a rat's ass about his family? This guy is too much, man.
He gets paid for that appearance. And there's no follow.
Oh, there's no pushback. There won't be any pushback.
The obvious question should have been, Danger, hey, okay, if you felt this way about Robert Saleh, then why are you contradicting him at the podium, talking about the cadence and other things? Why are you staring him down on the sideline? Why are you doing things that makes it look like you're not aligned?
Pushing him off for the man hug, the whole thing. I mean, just the notion that this guy is going to talk about family and how this affects family. And what does it mean to your family that you've been estranged from your family, that you kind of cut them out of your life? The guy is an unbelievable hypocrite. And if anything, the paid appearance now for Aaron Rodgers is nothing more than
timeout
propaganda for Aaron Rodgers. He's paying to try and boost his own personality, his own brand at this point.
Got a complaint off the air, and I said, hey, you got to bring this on the air. Scott, welcome to the Sports Bar. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Scott.
Hey, thanks for having me on. So I just was wondering, please don't ever play that beeping sound ever again. I'm like, what is happening? Did somebody forget to turn off their ringer here? Secondly, what is against Aaron Rodgers on the field? I know he's a little bit confident, but he's a phenomenal quarterback. Are we jealous of Aaron Rodgers, or do you think he's really a cancer to every team that he's played on?
Okay, so a couple of things. One, if you're new to the show, we from time to time we'll do a feature called McDermott McLies, and when somebody tells a lie, we'll hit you with this.
I love Robert Saleh. You don't love Robert.
He's lying through a lot of what he's saying there, and we counted 19 in that 3-minute clip. I'm not jealous of Aaron Rodgers. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's obviously, very accomplished in the NFL. Of anybody who should hate Aaron Rodgers, I should hate Aaron Rodgers for all the times that he ripped my heart out as a Green Bay Packer being a Bears guy. I don't. I have to still respect him. But that being said, you can still view the guy through the lens of maybe he is a cancer to the teams that he's involved in. We didn't see it end well in Green Bay. There was a lot of talk and a lot of back and forth between he and management of the Packers. He kind of, in a way, forced himself out of that situation into the current situation he's in. And I can't say with certainty that through 5 weeks this season, he's been a great quarterback. He had a nice game against the Patriots, but he's struggling to build chemistry with Garrett Wilson. Yeah, you haven't really seen him make the right decisions or the right throws when you need him to. I don't know that he's got anything left in the tank at 40 years old. He feels like he's beaten down and broken down. That's That's Aaron Rodgers in 2024, in my opinion.
Does he have the tools necessary to be able to be successful in New York? I know they're pretty overrated. Their offensive line has been like Swiss cheese.
I think that's the thing that's hurting him the most. I think the thing that hurts him the most with the Jets, and the thing that he had when he was in Green Bay for the majority of his time there, was protection. He had a good offensive line in Green Bay. He had a solid run game, and you don't really have that with the Jets. I know they're trying to make it better. They tried to get him that support, but it doesn't feel like, at least through 5 weeks, that they've got that thing worked out yet.
Well, I appreciate the time. I'm a Cowboys fan, so he's broken my heart numerous times in the playoffs as well. But I appreciate it. But that noise, you got to come up with a different noise.
Oh, man. That's going to be a tough one for us to call an audible on. I mean,
yeah. Look, that was just because there were so many of them.
It was a lot.
There was a lot.
It
was just rich. I mean, that was funny. And Scott, thank you for playing along. But
appreciate you, Scott.
Here's the news flash, everyone. Here's a memo. We welcome your calls at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Unlike some shows that have budgets, we don't have a call screener. You're going to get me. You get me. Yeah. So Scott calls up, hey, can you tell those guys? You're talking to
we're the guys.
We're the guys.
Yeah. No producer, no screener, just us. We're just two guys, West Siders in Rochester, New York, talking sports.
Like, it would be easy not to take calls. Like, Danger and I can easily do a 3-hour show not taking calls.
And there are many afternoons where we do just that. Yeah. If you have something and you want to add to the conversation, we'd love to hear from you at 866-4326. That's 866-4FAN. But we also won't give up the phone lines or let people call into the show and take it in a completely different direction. Like, we're having a conversation about the Bills and somebody wants to call up and talk about the Cleveland Browns. Chances are we're not going to let that call.
No, and it was a learning curve here. All right, here's the example. Would I be paying attention to the show? I look up, like, wait a second, they got Harper out. Oh, my gosh, they already up to Alonso with runners on base? Danger, you have to tip your cap to me. I am fully invested in the show today, and I am being rewarded by seeing Pete Alonso up at the plate with runners.
Watch what happens if Alonso, drives in a couple runs here. Let's see how distracted you are then. Let's see if we can get a natural live reaction from Gene Battaglia if the Mets take an early lead here in the first against Ranger Suarez and the Phillies.
Come on, just work counts.
Yeah.
Just kind.
See? You see?
Yeah, get it. Palms are all sweaty here.
There he is. You know what? Let's do this. Let's take a break so you can enjoy this at-bat, Chino, and come back with a round of shots next.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the things here. We'll set you up with, hey, Yankee fans, big game tonight, biggest of the year. We'll set you up for that. We've got the Guardians and Tigers in progress right now. Talking about the Jets, they lost one of their all-time greats today. We've got LeBron complaining here, too, and then the Jim Trotter story. We have a conclusion. Remember, he sued the NFL.
Yes, I'm going to sue the NFL. I'm going to sue Roger Goodell. I'm going to sue Bill Belichick and John Gruden and everybody. I'm suing everybody.
What happened? Why are you suing?
Well, they said very mean things to me. They didn't answer the question. It was at the press conference. My glasses fell off, and Roger Goodell stepped on my glasses, broke my glasses. Now I can't see, damn it.
Well, we'll give you an update.
Bill Belichick threw me down the stairs, and I fell on my ass pipe.
We'll get to a round of shots next on The Fan.
Sports Update.
It's not a good practice report for the Buffalo Bills today. Not on the field once again, Khalil Shakir and Ed Oliver, but now added to the list, James Cook and Curtis Samuel. Both Cook and Samuel with similar toe/foot issues. On the positive side, Taylor Rapp clearing concussion protocol. He was back out there. Taron Johnson was limited today. Sean McDermott on the what's ahead.
I'm confident in this group. We take them one at a time. Certainly have a big challenge in front of us at New York this week, and against a Hall of Fame quarterback and a really good defense. So we just got to stay focused, taking it one day at a time and one game at a time here.
On the Major League scoreboard, top of the 7th, Tigers leading the Guardians 3-0. That series tied at 1 game each. The Mets looking to close out the Phillies. They go to the second, no score. New York had the bases loaded in the bottom of the first, came away with nothing. Gene Battaglia, the Fan, Rochester.
If you want pure, unfiltered, unadulterated sports, you've come to the right place. 95.7 FM, The Fan, Rochester.
Time for a round of shots. Happy hour continues in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia.
And talk about a drought. October 5th, 2014. That was the last time the Detroit Tigers hosted a playoff game. That was before today. It was a Game 3 against Baltimore.
Can I say, like watching that game earlier, what a treat to be at that game. If you were at that game today, because it looked like it was a beautiful sunny October afternoon at a place that hasn't had the opportunity to do this very often. I thought that was great for Detroit.
I've never been to Comerica, the new park, and it's not even new. What is it, 2010? It looks nice. I don't know if they would make a park like that again, though, where you're kind of like there are a few stands there, but there really aren't that many luxury boxes.
I mean, that's a bucket list thing, right? Yeah. If you had the means and you were able to visit every major league park, if you had the time and the means, you would do that, right?
Yeah,
that would be unbelievable. Yeah. I hear good things about it. I also hear PNC in Pittsburgh is like the park, like one of the nicest parks in all of Major League Baseball.
That being said, though, whenever you get time and money and family, so it's the 2010 Frozen Four. RIT is in Detroit. I'm like, oh yes, and I'm stupid me. RIT's going to win tonight. Then I'm going to go opening day to the Tigers the next day, and then I'm going to. Well, they didn't win. RIT lost to Wisconsin. Then I'm thinking, well, do I want to stay for the next day? And I'm like, no, I need to get the heck out of here. I just get home at that point. So yeah, I had a chance to check it out, and you know what? I didn't.
Yeah, it's one of those cities that I've never visited. I mean, you've been through the airport a bunch of times, obviously, but never. And friends that are there, I view it as maybe like a bigger version of Rochester, in that there's a lot of friends that I have that are in Detroit, and they're from Rochester, or they've just kind of settled there, knowing that this is a pretty decent place. If you're in the suburbs, if you're outside of the city proper.
I can't comment. So, again, it's been like 14 years. But when I went there 14 years ago, in the big building, the Renaissance Center, they were specifically, and you were like, oh, yeah, it might be a half-hour walk. They were like, nope, do not walk over to Ford Field. You are taking the shuttle. I'm like, oh, okay. It was Greektown. You could have walked through there.
All right.
7:08 tonight for the Yankees and Royals. Clark Schmidt going against Seth Lugo on TBS Max. If you were with us earlier today, you heard our baseball expert Jim Riley from the Barreled Up podcast say, maybe the Yankees should have gone with Luis Gil. We'll figure out who was right on this. The LA Dodgers facing elimination today, and we still don't know who's starting tonight, Danger. I could check this again here. Dylan Cease starting for the Padres, 9:08 on FS1.
Okay. I mean, we have been absolutely spoiled up to this point with the Major League Baseball postseason. I hope it continues tonight. We get some competitive and entertaining games.
We've got 5 games tonight in the NHL. The defending Western Conference champion Edmonton Oilers open at home against Winnipeg. The doubleheader on TNT and Max tonight has the Rangers at Penguins, 7:30, followed by Colorado and Vegas. By the way, the Sabres' home opener is tomorrow night against the LA Kings.
It doesn't feel right just yet. Like last night, I'm like, I should stay up and watch the Hawks. They're in Utah. Now, they're in Utah. I'm like, they're going to lose.
Well, that's also kind of weird, too. Like, where are you?
Yeah,
like
they're in Utah, and I'm like, they're going to lose because it's Utah's first game, and it's going to be rowdy, and there's no way the Blackhawks have enough talent to live up to that. So I didn't make it. It still doesn't feel right. Although I will say tonight, Rangers at Penguins, It's a pretty compelling matchup, and I kind of like Pittsburgh at home, even though the Rangers are the defending President's Trophy champ. Like, give me the Penguins early. I think, like, if the Penguins are going to be anything in Pittsburgh, it's going to be early this season before the grind catches up to some of the age and the talent of that roster.
It's a tough start for hockey. I mean, if you are a New York sports fan, you're not watching that tonight. You're watching the end of the Mets. If you're a Met fan, then you got the Yankees at 7 o'clock, and you'll just look at your phone like, oh, hey, what are the Rangers doing here tonight? Yeah. What is the best nickname ever for a defensive line in NFL history? May I submit, Mike Danger, the New York Sack Exchange?
It's great. Love them.
Mark Gastineau, Joe Klecko, Marty Lyons, Abdul Salam. Abdul Salam passed today. This, according to his wife, he was battling multiple health issues. Abdul Salam was 71. By the way, Gastineau, Klecko, and Lyons, they're still with us.
Yeah, I guess I didn't. I mean, Klecko and Gastineau were the ones that I remember. I didn't remember Lyons and Salam. And Gastineau, I remember for the crazy sack dance every time, and Klecko was just nails on that defensive line. The idea that those guys are in their late 60s, early 70s, that's a tough pill for me to swallow. Yeah. I mean, it feels like just yesterday we were watching them play.
Yeah, and you get the idea that Gastineau in his later years isn't doing so well. LeBron James.
Hold on a second. You mean former NFL football players are struggling with their health as their age increases? What? If only somebody would do something about it. But by the way, Josh Allen not concussed on Sunday. Not related. I'm just going to throw that out. Not concussed.
No, he's not in the protocol because he's not concussed.
Oh, okay.
There was no.
I was just making sure it wasn't his. That wasn't his head that bounced violently off the turf where he was laid kind of motionless for a while. All right, Gino.
Matt Quintana getting out of the jam in the second. Jam was only running on first. They go to the bottom of the second in New York. No score, Phillies and Mets. LeBron James is not happy, Mike Danger.
Oh, no. What are we going to do? Maybe we should appreciate him a little bit more. Will that make him happy?
Complaining on social media. Quote, can someone please explain to me why we're getting on a plane emoji and heading to Milwaukee for one preseason game?
This is how you know LeBron James is old. He's like you and I. He's going on X to bitch about things now. He's an old guy.
He's an old guy. Bitching about travel. Well, LeBron, for starters, your arena isn't available, okay? So that's problem number one. All 6 preseason games for the Lakers have to be on the road. I didn't know it violated NBA rules, by the way, to play a preseason game outside your time zone.
Yeah, this is old man yelling at clouds territory for LeBron James. That's where he's at this stage of life. I'm just going to complain. I'm going to go to X and complain about the next thing you know. He's going to complain about taxes in Los Angeles. He's going to just become one of us. He's morphing into old guy on Twitter.
He's going to be angry sports parent right before our eyes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, my kid isn't getting enough playing time. What
That's
does
right.
his coach know?
Yep.
Like, Bronny, you got to work him. Oh, this is.
Yep.
I don't know if it's completely watchable or unwatchable. I don't know. James Trotter. Do you remember Jim Trotter? He was NFL media and went over to The Athletic. And, well, that's because, NFL media fired him because allegedly they didn't like his line of questioning.
This is the guy that during media day at the Super Bowl kept asking Roger Goodell about, was it diversity?
Diversity, minority hiring practices. So he asked the question first year, and then the second year, you could tell Goodell was not at all happy that one of his own reporters was asking.
That's the problem, right? Yeah. Like, you're in the NFL. You're being employed by the NFL, and you're going to question the NFL about their practices. The guy, you're going to Goodell, the face of the Shield, is the guy that you're going to challenge and chest up when he's the guy that's also signing your check.
Right. Know where you know who you're working for. Well, he filed a racial discrimination lawsuit against the NFL. How do you think this went? Well, we have a resolution. The two sides agreeing to a settlement. Trotter says he's going to do good with some of the money. Quote, I will be creating a scholarship foundation for journalism for students at HBCUs, and the NFL has agreed to make a donation to support it. The lawsuit had also claimed, if you remember this, that Cowboys owner Jerry Jones and Buffalo Bills owner Terry Pegula made racial comments at the former San Diego Union-Tribune reporter, and that reporter had been instructed not to share the reporter.
Now, that reporter from the San Diego Union Tribune was not Trotter, a different reporter.
A different reporter.
But his suit included these claims from Pagula and from Jerry Jones.
You can go look at it online, what was allegedly said, and I know sometimes you half listen, okay? So I don't want to repeat what was said because, oh my gosh, did you hear what Danger and Battaglia said? No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. I also like him saying that he's going to do good with some of the money. Some of the money will go to this scholarship foundation. The rest of it, I don't know that I necessarily need to do much more writing for the Athletic. Maybe you could find me at the pool. What do you think?
Silly me, Danger. Like, you had the correct take. I did not. I really thought that Trotter saw racism. I'm going to call this out, and I'm going to shine a light. But you know what? And it's hard because I've never been in this position. Do you want to do the right thing and affect change? Or do you want to just kind of take care of your family? And by the way, we're going to help you affect change by setting up these scholarships.
Yeah, this is the win-win. This makes it go away, right? And this was a reporter from the NFL Network. This wasn't like a high-profile national reporter. So the NFL kind of took their sweet time with this and probably behind the scenes worked feverishly to work with an HBCU and try to figure out how they can create this scholarship and use some of this money, donate some of this money as one of the conditions of a settlement, which will eventually mean. Now, the one that hasn't been settled.
I'm just looking this up. Is John Gruden.
Gruden has not settled yet. And, Gruden not coaching, hasn't settled. He's got himself a YouTube channel that I think he's been feeding content to here during the season and just kind of sharing his thoughts on different matchups each and every week. But that guy, I don't know that he's going to settle. That one, he might push. But again, they will drag it out and drag it out and drag it out. It's the NFL way. They're kind of in control of everything. The idea that they settled with their former employee here.
Well, the latest on this, and this was July 1st, which, yes, is Bobby Bonilla Day. We were not on the air back then, but Gruden wanted this actually heard in a courtroom, and he lost that. So this is headed to private arbitration.
Which the NFL dominates, right? Like, that's their thing.
Right, and even if it sounds bad for the NFL, hey, you know what? So if you've ever been involved in a lawsuit, what is the first thing the judge tells you to do?
Put on your glasses. First you put on your glasses, then you go up the stairs, and then you go into the courtroom, and then I'm going to sue John Gruden and his brother Jay. They were very mean to me. I was the water boy for the Washington Redskins at the time, and they were very mean. They were disrespectful, and one of them pulled up my underpants over my head. I fell over on my face, fell into somebody's shoes. I fell into Robert Griffin's shoes. And Robert Griffin was there, and he was not very nice to me either. I'm going to sue Robert Griffin for punitive damages. And Daniel Snyder, all of them. They were very mean to me. Jim Trotter, I'm going to sue Jim Trotter.
Quite often, the judge will tell both sides to go out in the hallway and try to work this out one last time. The judges don't want to hear this. Work this out amongst yourself.
Correct. Quick break. Come back. We'll tell you about tomorrow afternoon here in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan. Come by at 325. Check out Dan Fates at 13 Wham Sports and also BuffaloPlus.com. And also more Bills talk as we prepare for Monday night against the Jets. Our buddy Alex Brasky, Bills Digest and Batavia Daily News. He stops by tomorrow afternoon at 4:25. Now, if you missed Jim Riley of the Barreled Up podcast, Ball Cap Sports, if you missed PJ Glasser, the host of Send It In on the BetQL Network, we've got both of those conversations available for you wherever you get your podcasts. Gene just threw his headphones down in disgust because Suarez got out of another bases-loaded jam, second inning in a row. The Mets strand 3. JR Sport Brief next on the Fan Rochester.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.